right. Wide open Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz right here on Pub Sports Radio. Thank you guys for joining us. And my goodness, one of the things I pride myself on is the transparency and the honesty. And I won't try to sell you anything ever and all that. Just trying to be the best gambler that I can be. But I'm coming off the worst week of my entire life in NFL. Never have I hit double-digit units down in 1 week. I've come close. I've had 8.8, did 8.8 and 8.9. Nothing like that this year. Actually, I had one really bad week this year. It's funny. My bad weeks have been horrific, and my good weeks have just been, good. But this was unbelievably bad. The worst week of my career. I still think there's enough time to fix it, but good God, it's just awful looking at 2 wins, 13 losses, down 12.41 units. I don't want to sit here and sit with this for too long. I'm just mentioning it right now. Let's get it out of the way. I've moved forward. I haven't made any bets on this card. There's spots that I really like, but I wanted to talk them all out first. But it happened. It just happened. I'm getting hammered on social media.
Hey, you know what? I think it speaks volumes to the fact that this is the first time in your NFL sports betting career you've been down double-digit units, because I've had, I'm a high volume guy, so I have much more more variance, more swings. But dude, it's all right, man. We're gonna bounce back. Let's get to the black.
Yeah. Let's get to the black. But let's just one more touch on it and then move past it. 2-13 with 2 pushes. Horrific. Down 12.41 units. Cash the Denver, Detroit over 47.5. Push Cleveland -3. Lost Tennessee -2.5, which I thought was in the bag. The Jets +9.5 was atrocious. Jets Miami under 39 cash. Patriots +9.5, lost by a hook. New England KC, we saw this huge move to the over, and that hurt me badly. Arizona +13.5 was a mistake. San Francisco, Arizona under 48 was a mistake. The defense from the Cardinals, which we'll talk about here on the show, is horrific. It's really bad, but the San Francisco offense is spectacular. Then Dallas Buffalo first half over 24 was a push. The full game over 15.5 was a loss. I started the week off in the worst fashion manageable with the Chargers first half and full game, which was loss. Cowboys +2.5 was a horrific read. Jaguars +3.5. That was one of the most frustrating games I've ever watched in my life. And then when I'm losing, and I know that other gamblers can touch on this, I reach a little more, and I doubled up on overs in Philadelphia, Seattle, destroyed the line move, but lost them both. It was absolutely horrific. That's the last time I'm going to talk about how bad it was. I don't want to sit here and just dwell on it, and I want to move on. But it happened. It negatively, horribly affected my bankroll, and it happened. It sucks because I've never run hotter in my life in basketball. But, I just, whatever. It is what it is. Troy, you had 42 bets. 42 bets in NFL.
11 of which were on the Lions, thank God. Without the Lions this week, I'd be fucking treading water right now.
Well, you've had an amazing season. 165 wins, 157 losses, 51.2%, plus 27.88 units, ROI plus 8.66%, average line plus 139. And thank God for it, because one of us has to be succeeding, or nobody would watch. Troy, talk to us about the week that was. I have all your games here in front of us.
Yeah. I'll cover it off real quick. Cool. So, I opened up the week just like you with the Chargers. Terrible way to start the week. And maybe you start reaching a little bit because I had a bunch of additions after that game. But, one of my first moves this week was on the Lions. We had that spot circled since week 10. It's been 5 weeks. So I hammered the shit out of it. I've been planning it. Lions 3.5, Lions 4, Lions double result, Lions first half -2.5. Teased them with the Vikings. And had multiple SGPs with the Lions and Gibbs, the Lions and Montgomery, their yards and their touchdown. Cashed everything except for the Lions and Montgomery touchdown. So that was the Lions. 11 of my bets went 10 and 11 on that game alone. Browns, I had 2 pushes with the -3 in the first half money line, won the money line parlay with the Rams, and won the money line parlay with the Lions. I had 2 player props. Both of them failed. Ford over 17.5 receiving yards. He didn't get there. He was very close at half. Didn't get any catches in the second half. Barkley over 64.5 rush yards. Terrible read, terrible look. That lost. Had Giants first half +3.5 and Giants full game +5. That was I split that one, won the first half, lost the full game. I think I was on the wrong side. Jets +8.5, Jets money line. I was on the wrong side, lost both. Packers double result, lost first half, lost full game. I was confident in the Bills, and I planned on going heavier on them. I didn't get the action that I would like to reflect more here, but I cashed both of my Bills tickets. Bills -2.5, Bills 49ers money line parlay. I had the Jags and the Ravens over 40.5. That lost, even though I felt like that could have won over. Jimmy, I know you were on the same side. Very frustrating to watch. I had the Ravens double result, Ravens -3.5, cash. Had the Ravens money line, parlayed with the Flowers, 40+ receiving yards, that lost. And parlayed with Beckham, 25+ receiving yards, that lost. Eagles -3.5, terrible way to end the week. Eagles -3.5, lost. Eagles first half -2.5, lost. My 2 Eagles SGPs lost. And then I had, luckily, Big Show and Subhuman Gaucho in the chat said that they're putting the two legs that I had in my SGPs together. I told them I was following them. I told them I was following them, and I hit it. Luckily, that saved my ass a little bit, made it a little bit less difficult to deal with. And I actually missed some action early in the week. 42 bets. Vikings +3, that pushed. Bengals team total under 21.5. They put up 21 points in the fourth quarter to go over. Colts for Steelers under 42 was a loser. And I had the Steelers. I added the Steelers money line out of spite for what happened in the early game and lost with that.
19 and 20, you went down 0.76 units. So that was the week that was. I want to move on. Thank you guys, all of you in the chat. Mac Beavers in the house, Terry Walker, Wine Time Sports, Jedi for Life, Ian Shaber, Turpy, Mike Quinn, Mel, Tacky, JP, Al, Cervix, Sammy, Calmer, ready to get to work, Jim W. Putt. Great group. Andy Reed's Cheeseburger rolling with us as well. Slatsy 45, Fireside, Harold Williams. And thank you guys for the kind words. It doesn't make the pain of the horrible week go away, but it does give me a lot of hope that you guys stick by me through the highs and through the lows. And I'll never end being thankful. I'll never stop being thankful for you guys sticking by me, after tough weeks. And it wasn't,
it's a lot easier when we sit here, watch you cash every single day in the long run. So it's a lot easier to follow a guy like you, and even in the downswing.
Well, thank you. So that was the week that was. Let's move on and
let's
not
go,
dwell
baby.
on the pain that I just endured. We start Thursday, December 21st at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. The New Orleans Saints 7-7, 3-4 on the road at the LA Rams 7-7, 4-3 at home, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Our friend Son Dizzle, following the Saints here for these last few days, was in New Orleans for the last game. Going to be heading to LA to SoFi for this one. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one and the market moves, and then get rolling from a line history standpoint. Got it all here set up. Here we go. Shoot. Sorry. That's that and that. There we go. From a line history standpoint, there was quite a bit of movement today. Today, it looked like there was a big move being led by Pinnacle towards the LA Rams. Sonny was following it closely. He wants to have action on this game. This opened up on Sunday night at 7:50 p.m. with the Saints juiced on a -4 to -117. 1 minute it moved to 4.5. We had this at 4.5, and the juice was coming. This got up to -109 around 1 in the morning. And then this morning it was sitting around -102, but it was still at 4.5. That changed at noon. This got to a 4, a regular 4 to pick 'em. There's now been 4 cents of movement to the Rams since it was a pick 'em. But overall, there has been 6 cents of movement towards the New Orleans Saints since Pinnacle opened this line on Sunday evening. From a total standpoint here, get this up. We are dealing with a 46. This opened up at 44. We have climbed 2 points up to 46. And the reason why it's interesting that there's been a slight move to the Saints is because 94% of the tickets and 83% of the cash is on the LA Rams. When I was talking to Sun Dizzle about this game, of course, he's a gambler. He wants to have action on the game he's watching. It was 94 and 99% of the cash. 94% of tickets, 99% of the cash. So it's still 94% of the tickets, but now 83% of the cash. This money that's come in on the Saints has moved the line towards the Saints, despite everybody being on the Rams. Very interesting situation here. So let's set up the X's and O's and then hand it over to you. Oh, did we do the touch on the total cash? We did not. My bad. So, and for the total, we've seen it move 2 points to the over. Now, 88% of tickets and 97% of the cash is on the over. So market following all the big bets. Nobody on the other side of that. Saints coming off their second straight win, 24-6 over the New York Giants. 2 wins came on the heels of a 3-game losing streak. They're now tied with the Buccaneers atop the NFC South. Both teams are 1 game up on the Falcons. After this game, they close the season at the Buccaneers and at home versus the Falcons. And it was a thorough victory. The 24-6 win over the Giants followed a 28-6 win against the Panthers. Yes, they're really weak teams, but at least they beat them comfortably. They beat the Giants without Chris Olave, who was out with an ankle injury. It is unclear at this point whether he will be available. Carr was in complete control. 10 different players caught passes, 3 touchdown passes, and finished with the passer rating of a 134.8. 23, 28, 218 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kamara led receivers with 5 catches for 44 yards. So, without Olave, without Michael Thomas, there's not the big play guys. You need Raheed Shaheed for that. Kamara getting the checkdowns. Juwan Johnson was next with 2 catches for 38 yards and touchdown. 6 of 12 on third down. They are 17th in the league in red zone. In third down offense. They were perfect 2 for 2 in the red zone. They're tied for 21st in red zone offense, scoring touchdowns 50% of the time. There's 4 teams. I think actually 5 teams tied at that spot, 50% in the red zone over the season. So we don't know on the short week if Olave will be available, but something tells me that either him or Michael Thomas will be. That has to be the move. Somebody has to have inside info. Now, Michael Thomas is open. The practice window is open for him, but they have said that they won't be doing it before Thursday's game. So, they've made that a statement earlier today. I doubt that they're going to change that. The Saints also had a season-high 7 sacks against the Giants, and Cameron Jordan, once again, not involved, didn't record a statistic in the game, still dealing with the ankle injury, held the Giants to just 12 first downs and 193 total yards, held the Giants to just 2 of 16 on third down. The Saints have been very strong in that category all year. They're 4th in the NFL, allowing opponents to convert just 34.9% of third downs. The Giants didn't make a red zone appearance. Saints are good in the red zone, 13th in the league. They allow opponents to score 52.6% of the time. And Dennis Allen said yesterday that Lattimore won't be designated for a return ahead of this Thursday nighter. So no Lattimore. Also, Ryan Ramczyk dealing with a knee injury. He's questionable to play. And Lonnie Johnson, a reserve safety, is listed as questionable to play with a quad injury. Rams coming off a 28-20 home victory over the Commanders. They've now won 4 of 5. They look like a very good football team. They outgained the Commanders 445 to 297. I don't think we should get too caught up in the 28-20 final score. Kyron Williams lost 2 fumbles. They were the first 2 fumbles he's lost in his entire career. But, Kupp looked dominant, 8 catches for 111 yards. Kyron ran for 152 yards and a touchdown. They were 9 of 16 on third down. They held on to the ball for 35-53. And they're now ranked 10th in the league, converting third downs at 41.9%. Now, they only led 13-0 at the half. Now, they had the ball inside Washington's 10 on 4 of their first 5 drives, and they've been very good in the red zone. So I don't care that the score was close, and I don't care that they struggled in the red zone. I think that was just an anomaly. They held the Commanders to 3 of 14 on third down. Their third down defense has been improving all year. They're now 16th in the NFL. They have a very young secondary. The Commanders were 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense has been strong there all year. 57.1% of red zone drives they allow the opponents to score on. The pass rush has not been strong. We can talk about Aaron Donald all we want, but it's not been strong this year. They're 24th in the league in sacks per game. Only 4 teams have less sacks than them over the last 3 games. Akilo Witherspoon left with a groin injury in the 4th quarter. Sean McVay has come out already and said he's going to be good to go. Rob Havenstein with a groin injury and Tutu Atwell with a concussion, both sat out. They are both expected to play. So they'll have Tutu Atwell, they'll have Havenstein back, and then Trey Tomlinson is capable of coming back, defensive back Trey Tomlinson as well. That's the situation we face right now. Take it away, Troy. Are you moving on the Thursday nighter?
Yeah, this is one of the rare times I have a bet in already on the Thursday nighter. But to me, this is one of the most meaningful games of the week. Both teams priced very similarly in the market and kind of sitting at a market high to some extent. Both teams are, on win streaks. They're on the up and up. And, talk about the market. Like I talked about on the live stream yesterday, there is extreme manipulation in primetime games. I think that's part of the reason why we see so much money on one side, not much movement. It was very confusing in the Eagles and the Ravens game as to what the market. It was not a very clear picture up until right before kickoff. And I actually think that the Eagles should have got the cover yesterday. They had all the chances. We could talk about that later. But this allows me to gain an edge because I've tracked the stuff in the database. We'll talk about that as this goes on. But the Saints have 2 road wins all season. Those 2 road wins came against the Panthers and the Patriots. They've had the easiest strength of schedule, the second easiest strength of schedule so far this football season. 5 of their 7 wins were versus the worst teams in the NFL. They haven't been able to beat any competent quarterbacks. They're bottom 5 in opponent yards per carry, bottom 5 in sack rate, bottom 10 in pressure rate. And this makes it much harder for a great secondary to do their job. And all of this, keep in mind, versus a weak schedule. And I think this is very exploitable by the Rams. Their offense is going to be by far the best unit on the field. I talk at length about Stafford and McVay's connection. They're elite together. Stafford's top 3 in the pocket, especially in a clean pocket. So if the Saints can't get pressure, you're giving them time back there to dice up this defense that plays zone, predominantly zone. If they can't get to a quarterback versus a team like the Ravens and an offensive scheme like versus a team like the Rams, an offensive scheme like the Rams and McVay, they're going to be in deep trouble. If they can't get to the quarterback, the crossing routes that the Rams run are going to get to their spots. They're going to create openings because, you're going to be able to exploit flat defenders in a zone coverage if you get crossing routes. If you have time to throw crossing routes, they're going to get beat. If the pressure can't get home, I really don't feel like they can get stopped. We have 2 of the top receivers in the NFL against zone coverage. And they're top 10 in yards per carry, which could exploit that deteriorating run defense, which is on the downtrend all season long. What's the best way to beat this team? Is to run the ball. Saints are 29th in the NFL, and I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball in the Rams. This defense is uptrending. So I'm just completely surprised because a few weeks ago, I've been talking about how this is the team I was going to start selling in the market. But as the season's going on, I've watched this team more and more closely. I went back and referenced old games today, and I've come a long way with this Rams team, especially this defensive unit, which I thought was going to be young and unimpressive, but they're getting the job done. And I'm not scared of the market in this game at this point. And knowing what I know about how manipulated the markets are in primetime games, this is just a great spot, And I mean, I got so many database metrics here that I want to read through, but I'm not going to bore you with it. What I'm going to say is in primetime games, the public cashes. That's the first thing I want to say. And home favorites of 7 or less with the total move into the over like it is, the home team crushes. 17-7 ATS with the favorite between 3 and 6. They're 9-2 ATS, winning by margin. So I think this is the time to fade the Saints off 2 blowout wins, fade the defensive head coach. I think this head coach is trash. I think they're going to get exposed. I got the Rams -4, got the Rams for half a unit, and I also want to have them in a money line parlay. So I have 2 plays right now. The spread and the double result.
Rams for Troy and Rams -4. What is the double result pay?
That's +105, and that's kind of the sweet spot. So I tracked double results for years now because I found them fascinating, and I thought there was an edge in there, especially in the NFL, not like in the NBA where you see a lot of variance in the game. Teams up dramatically or down dramatically. Teams up by 20 in the first half or down by 20 in the second half. It's not the same in the NFL. And I think double results, there's a market there. And I find it, if you go back and look at all my double results, they're all falling around the same price between +100 and +115.
Yeah, that all makes a ton of sense.
Except for all the cash and the line's not moving, right?
Except for that.
That's the hardest. That was the hardest part for me to get over. And I I spent so much time in the database. If Joe Yuko's in the chat right now,
He
spent about an hour in this game prior to prior to actually coming on the show. We were on the phone for an hour, just manipulating the database and all of the spots, no matter how I manipulated it based on the total, the cash flow, and the spread. Man, it was just crazy to me to see how big of a home spot it was, despite the non-move on the spread, or non-move towards the Rams at this point.
What do you make of the Saints beating up on very weak teams? Do you think that puts them in a worse situation against a team that we expect to make the playoffs in the Rams? Or do you think that they can get a little bit of confidence and move forward? I mean, this was Derek Carr's best game of the season that he's coming off of. Exactly. I mean, you talked about the strength of schedule being a negative, but do you think there's a chance that they could build off of these two wins against, cupcakes?
I do. The issue is, for me, is that when you go up against such a weak offense, the past two offenses were arguably the worst in the NFL, with the Giants and the Panthers, right? That was their back-to-back wins by 20. Maybe, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a letdown spot necessarily, because both these teams are 7-7 playing for the playoffs. This is actually a massive game, man. And so I'm not expecting a letdown to that extent, but there's a massive quarterback and coaching advantage with the Rams. And I think that is reflected in the opener. I mean, I had this line at 6, but that's because 5.5 is just such a controversial number for me. So I know a lot of people talk about this number at 5.5, but I see a lot of value right now on the Rams at this number. I think the Saints are not a good football team.
Troy is on the Rams. Double result at plus 105 and the Rams -4. I'm going to need a little more time.
And the biggest thing from the X's and O's is that zone coverage that the Saints like to run. And all of their safeties, all of their corners are way better zone defenders than they are man defenders, and they run it 70% of the time. If you cannot get to Stafford, they're going to get exposed. You got the two best receivers in the league against zone coverage. The Cooper Kupp has the most yards yards after catch, the most yak against zone coverage. It's just setting up bad for the Saints.
Oh, I like it. A lot of food for thought for me. Troy has moved on the Thursday nighter. He's all over the LA Rams. Let's move on to Saturday, December 23rd action. We start 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Cincinnati Bengals 8-6, 3-3 on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers, 7-7, 4-4 at home at Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 45 Fahrenheit light rain, and the rain at this point. Now I know it's way in advance, but at this point it's supposed to stop raining right around kickoff, and there's no wind. We're talking 1 mile per hour wind. Take a look at the line history here for the first game on Saturday for us. From a spread perspective, there has been a move towards the Bengals. This opened up for the Bengals at -2 at -106. Bet Online put this out, a week before the games played, or 5 days before the games played on the weekend. So they put this out at a pick 'em. This opened up at Pinnacle at -2 at -106, and now it is -2.5. This 2.5 is juiced to the Pittsburgh Steelers. From a total side of things, we have we have a 37, and that is juiced to the under. This opened up at 38, and the initial move was to the over. This got up to 39. So this opened up at 38 at 7:51 p.m. 5 minutes later, it's at 39. So a quick burst towards the over, and it stayed there for 16 hours. Before we saw movement back to the under. That movement was yesterday night. It moved back to 38, and then it moved to 37 this afternoon, and now it is juiced to the under at 37. Go over to the cash flow then for this one. We have on that total 62% of the tickets and 82% of the cash on the under. And on the spread, we have 33% of the tickets and 43% of the cash on the Steelers, and a slight move towards the Bengals. So Al Cervic says Steelers are finished. Doug says the Steelers are so bad. Londo says sharps are on the Bengals. I don't see that yet. Londo. I don't think that is materialized. We know that the public is on the Bengals. I don't think we know exactly where the sharps lie, but the bigger bets have been placed on the Steelers. Public is on the Bengals, and the lines move towards the Bengals. So maybe you can infer that that means the sharps are on them if you'd like to. That might be a leap at this point. The big question with the talk about the defense, the quarterback Mason Rudolph or Mitch Trubisky, I think it's Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett starts this game. I don't like saying that here when I'm just judging off of interviews where no one's come out and said it. I think Pickett is back for this, and we'll see. The Bengals coming off their third straight win, an impressive 27-24 come from behind victory. Browning 29 of 42 for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He led Cincinnati to 3 fourth quarter touchdowns, and that was a revenge spot. The Vikings cut him from their practice squad 2 years ago. He has 110.9 passer rating in his 4 starts. Jamar Chase has a separated shoulder. He's going to miss this week. He's probably going to miss next week. And I don't expect the Browning magic to be here. And I guess you're already kind of feeling that I expect the Steelers to bounce back after Tomlin's press conference after the game. I expect the Steelers, and I've been all over their defense, pedestrian, all the things I say about them, but I think that they are going to play with violence this Saturday. I think they're going to play like their season is on the line, like their jobs are on the line. And I haven't moved on them because, the line's moving against me and I wanted to hear what everybody had to say. So T. Higgins was spectacular. 4 catches for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mixon ran 10 times for 47 yards, touchdown. He also caught 3 for 14, but I don't trust him. They were 6 of 13 on third down. They're 21st in the league, converting third downs, 36.7% of opportunities. They're slightly better with Browning than they were with Burrow. I don't believe that, though. They were 2 of 4 in the red zone. They're 7th in the league, scoring touchdowns on 61% of red zone drives. Again, they're slightly better with Browning than Burrow in that category, and I don't believe that either. The pass rush looked better this week. 3 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. This pass rush has been horrific. So is it the Vikings' weak offensive line? Yeah, it is. That is why they look better. The Vikings were 5 of 12 on third down. The Bengals are 28th in the league, allowing conversions, 42.6% third down opportunities. They held the Vikings to 2 of 5 in the red zone. They're strong in that department. That's their best spot defensively for the Bengals. 11th in the league, allowing touchdowns on just 51.9% of opportunities. Hilton and BJ Hill had picks. DJ Reader is done for the season. I mean, there's so many different spots here. And now, this defense looked good without DJ Reader for what? 40 minutes of game time? He's a huge loss. DJ Ivey, cornerback, left in the first quarter with knee injury. Now, he's not a huge piece, but he's done for the year. So they lose 2 guys done for the year. Steelers coming off a tremendously disappointing 30-13 loss at the Colts. It was their 3rd straight loss. Puts Tomlin's run of 16 straight seasons to 500 better in jeopardy. Early 13-0 lead. The Colts put up 30 unanswered. They were outgained 372-216. Trubisky looked horrific. Made Rudolph made an appearance in the 4th quarter. I mean, he's not the answer. And I think Kenny Pickett plays. Do I want to make a bet here on Tuesday saying that Kenny Pickett's going to play and then watch Mason Rudolph or Mitch Trubisky run out there? No, of course I don't. Deontay Johnson led receivers with 4 catches for 62 yards. Jalen Warren ran 10 times for 40, caught 5 for 28. Najee Harris ran 12 times for 33 yards and lost a fumble. They were 4 of 12 on third down. They've been bad all year on third down. 26th in the league, converting 34.7% of third downs. Doesn't matter if Kenny's in there. They've been bad on third down. They were perfect 2 for 2 in the red zone. They've been bad in the red zone all year. They're 28th there. I mean, I don't expect that to change with Kenny, but he is more talented than the other 2 quarterbacks in question. The pass rush was again mediocre. They had 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. At least TJ Watt had 2 sacks. He needs to get going. The Colts were 6 of 15 on third down. The Steelers are just 21st with their third down defense. I mean, I can't find any statistics to show the Pittsburgh defense is good. Now, they're 8th in the league in the red zone defense. So there it is. That's the one. Minka Fitzpatrick did not return after hurting his left knee. He's already been ruled out. Cam Hayward remains in concussion protocol. I don't expect him to be available. I think that's part of the move. Keanu Neal is still on IR. He's not going to play this weekend. He hasn't played since week 10. Take it away for us, Troy. Our game on Saturday, 4:30 p.m., Bengals-Steelers battle at Acrisure.
Since I started betting on sports, the first thing that ever stuck in my mind is like the Tomlin spots, the Vrabel spots. But have you noticed that the Tomlin spots haven't been hitting this year? That's 100% the truth. Defensive head coaches in general, this is a common theme throughout this entire card. I'm going to touch on this. Defensive head coaches in general, they're just too conservative, man. They're not adjusting to an evolving league. I've alluded to many times in the past about how this league has changed from a defensive league to an offensive league based on the rule changes and just everything, right? Everything's leaning more offense in every major sport, right? And I just think these guys are slow to evolve. Who am I talking about here? Tomlin, Belichick, Vrabel, Saleh, Eberflus, Rivera, Staley, who just got fired. Is this a list of defensive coaches or a list of the coaches of the worst teams in the NFL? And I spent a lot of time with this game. It's very difficult for me to do this because I know I'm going up against a lot of sharp money. All the sharps are going to be back in the Steelers, but I'm on the Bengals. It's another spot this week that I'm going to be fading a defensive head coach. Feels like to me, the bottom is going to fall out for the Steelers, no matter what Tomlin says in front of on the podium. I faded them successfully most of this year. I backed them this past week, and I lost with them. They're on an L3 versus the Colts, the Patriots, and the Cardinals, two of the worst teams in the league. And this is all in the midst of a playoff, trying to get into the playoffs. They're playing for something, and they're still losing these games. This team was one of the luckiest in NFL history throughout the first 8 weeks of the season. Last week, they recorded an NFL low this season, a pass block rate of 15 per PFF. The lowest recorded all season, 15. That's not an F. That's like they weren't even there. The run block grade was 44, and I haven't dug through every single team, every single game right yet. I can't say this for certain, but I would venture to say that that's bottom 5 in the NFL this season. A failing grade this past week in every single offensive category. It would definitely help if Pickett was the quarterback, and I would say I'm 50-50 on that right now between Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett. Failing grades in every defensive category except for their pass rush. To me, this Tomlin narrative is kind of dead to me at this point. Regression back to the mean, shift from defensive to offensive league. But the biggest part of that is that just a disengaged team. You can see it in the grades. Wide receivers are walking around on offense. They're not blocking. That's freaking for sure. Go watch the tape. They're definitely not blocking. Pickens and Tomlin are fighting on the sideline. You can totally see the frustration by all these players. And how would you feel with this guy as your head coach? I mean, I still think he makes plenty of bad decisions throughout the course of a football game. Watched him at length this season. And this is all against an uptrending Bengals team with revenge in this spot. They're up if you go through all of their grades, all their metrics, they're uptrending in every single one, in every single position, pass blocking, run defense, pass rush coverage, all the most important, best grades of the season. Certainly a motivated group. Can't tell me it's not. And like I said, they got revenge in this game. And the biggest part about this is what you alluded to. This is where I do see a huge correlation between the market and what the expected results should be, because it's that when this market starts moving towards the road team, it heavily favors the road team. Home dogs that open between +1 and +2 and move towards the road team are 11-3 ATS at 79% in favor of the Bengals. 12-2 straight up, that's 86%. When you got a divisional home dog of less than 3 points, the market is 5-0. So what does that tell you? That tells you whatever way this market moves has been right 5 times in a row, as far back as the database goes. And the Bengals, I'm on the Bengals. I got a -2. I got them on the money line. My guy Joe was trying to talk me into a team total over, but I told him that after fading this team's offense in the last game, I can't go back and back the offense in this game. So I just don't think that looks right optically, even though it might be the right play. I'm just more confident in the side. I think the Bengals get the job done and the bottom falls out for Pittsburgh.
So you trusted what you saw in the fourth quarter, because your under on the Bengals it looked like the right bet. And I had a colleague asked me about that, and I was like, yeah, I'm so close, and I didn't move on it. And I was like, I don't think I'll move on it, but it makes sense to me. And I thought I'd left money on the table before the fourth quarter. Do you believe in what you saw from that fourth quarter offense, or do you think that there was some special magic for Browning going up against the team that cut him from the practice squad, and that there was some special magic from T. Higgins, who is being hurt in crucial parts of this season and now is the number one? Did you think any of that, or did you believe in what you saw?
I think it was lightning in a bottle, man. It was not something that I think is sustainable, putting up 21 points in one quarter the way they did. It's not like I'm depending on the Bengals to perform well here. This is a bet against the Steelers. I should be very clear about that because I personally would love to sell high. This is a sell high, buy low spot. This is exactly what this is. It's a 100%. This is the Tomlin spot, perfectly put. This is just a fade of the Steelers team, who I've watched a lot of, and I had these first two games. I went back and I watched some games in the past, and just to watch body language, to watch the progression of the plays, back to when Kenny Pickett was at quarterback. Oh man, even in this game when the Bengals played the Steelers this last few weeks ago, the Bengals were in that game. Despite all the offense, the Steelers offense, despite all the offense, the Bengals could have easily won that game.
So we need to speed up our pace here. We're taking too long. I know these are crucial games, but
I moved on these two games too, so I'll definitely have a better pace.
If Pickett is in, the line moves to 1.5, which would mean that the line's moving towards the Steelers. Would you be extremely concerned?
Extremely concerned. I think my bet is predicated on the market. That's the fundamental. That's the foundation of my position, is that the market is going to end up moving towards the Bengals.
All right. And Mouse is exactly, this isn't about the Bengals, it's a huge fade of the Steelers. And I think that, this is the buy low spot on the Steelers and the sell high spot on the Bengals. I think Pickett's going to be announced in. This line's going to move to 1.5. Could even move. I don't think it moves to 1, but moves to 1.5. Now this could all blow up in my face. I also like the under. I think the under is definitely in play. Definitely in play. Now the problem is that 2017 final score is also in play. So I think I move on the under here tonight, but I'm going to move on the Steelers now. And if it's Rudolph or Trubisky, I will try and see if I can get out of the bet live while I'm watching it. Okay, we roll on. Next up for us is the Saturday night game, 8 p.m. Eastern. Buffalo Bills 8-6, 2-4 on the road at the LA Chargers, 5-9, 2-5 at home. SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Let's get into line history here. We'll start with the side. From a side perspective, we have the Chargers plus 11.5. There are 12s here. This opened up with the Chargers plus 13.5 here, at Pinnacle, and now they're at 11.5. And from a total perspective here, we have a 44. This opened up at 43. It's climbed to 44. From the cash flow look, we have 63% of tickets and 92% of the cash on the Chargers. We know how, I talked about how a dream of mine is to have $100,000 in the bank, in a bank account. That's only for when a team in our 4 major sports fires their coach. Put 10,000 on that team and only use it for that. Only use it for that. And I realized later, I was like, that would work. I could do that with 50. I could do that with 50 and cut it to 5. But this, sometimes when a coach gets fired, it's a very difficult bet to make. And this is as difficult as I could imagine, but it's not stopping any of the sharp action on the Chargers. Now, we've already heard in the chat that Champs Ross Fantasy Boxing Predictions League says Bills cover -12, blowout city coming. That's certainly a possibility, but it's not what the sharp action expects here. 44% of tickets and 92% of cash is on the over. The Bills come in off a dominant 31-10 victory at home over the Cowboys. So, this team is rolling. They outgained the Cowboys 351-195. Held the ball for 10 minutes longer than the Cowboys. 28 first downs to the Cowboys 14. Josh Allen was just 7 of 15 for 94 yards and 1 touchdown in the victory. That's how you know he's locked in. Not trying to do too much. Taking what the game gives him. And, of course, it was James Cook night. 25 carries for 179 yards and a touchdown. Caught 2 passes, 42 yards and a touchdown. 20 first downs rushing. Tied for the second most in the history of the franchise. That's most since 1996. Cook's rushing total was the highest for a Bills player since Fred Jackson, 2009. They were 5-9 on third down. They continue to excel in that department. They're now the best third down team in the league, converting 49.2% of third down opportunities. They were 3 of 4 in the red zone, another strength. They're third in the league, scoring touchdowns on 67.3% of red zone chances. Despite numerous injuries that I got too hung up on, I guess, the defense looked very strong. They held the Cowboys to 195 total yards, held them to 5 of 13 on third down. Now, they're only 19th in the league on third down defense, allowing opponents to convert 39.2% of time. Held the Bills to 1 of 2 in the red zone. Bills are 14th in the league in red zone defense, allowing opponents to score on 53.5% of red zone drives. Pass rush looked better than it has all month. 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Christian Benford had an interception. So, I'm trying to figure out all the love for the Bills because we see it everywhere. The Bills defense looks strong despite no Micah Hyde and no AJ Epinesa. They won't come back supposedly for this week because they don't expect to need them. Now, this is a defense that lost Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano, and Daquan Jones to season-ending injuries. Now, it is possible for Jones to come back. We thought he was going to come back. Now it looks like he may not come back. Now they lose Jordan Phillips to a wrist injury. He's already undergone surgery. He's listed as week to week. I don't know how they keep doing it. I don't know how this defense is holding together. I just don't get it. The Chargers coming off a horrific 63-21 loss to Vegas. That was so bad that Brandon Staley and their GM Tom Telesco are both fired. Thank God. They've never given up that many points in the history of their franchise. The Raiders have never scored that many points in the history of their franchise. There was an expectation of Kellen Moore to get the interim coaching job, but it's Griff Smith. That caught us all by surprise. Smith was the team's outside linebackers coach. He's worked with the Chargers since 2016. He's been in charge of the defensive line at times. The Chargers didn't pass midfield until the third quarter. Easton Stick 23 of 32 for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick fumble twice, losing both. Joshua Kelly and Darius Davis lost fumbles. It was as hard as any game I've ever had to watch in my life. Joshua Palmer finished with 4 catches for 113 yards and 1 touchdown. I didn't realize it was just setting the tone for the week. Isaiah Spiller finished with 16 carries for 50 yards. Eckler's not the number one running back anymore. It's unbelievable. 5 carries for 9 yards, 4 catches for 29 yards. Now, Keenan Allen, will he bother playing? We think he will because of the coaching change, but he's dealing with this heel injury. The pass rush was nowhere to be found. 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits. Did Joey Bosa come off IR? He's eligible to come off IR. They let the Raiders go 9 of 16 on third down. Chargers are 14th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 37.6% third downs. Raiders were perfect 3 for 3 in the red zone. The Chargers' red zone defense hasn't been that bad. 17th in the league, allowing opponents to cash 55.6% of red zone chances. And now Will Clapp gone for the year. IR, done for the year. He's a center and a guard. Can play multiple positions on the offensive line. So, Troy, are you tailing the Sharps and joining the new coach glory here and fading the Bills?
We probably should. Londo asked a question. He said something in the chat like, I can't believe sharp bettors are on the Chargers. He's flabbergasted. Well, this is what I spend all day looking at. I can't help myself. When sharp action is on a home dog of 10 or more, they are 5-1 ATS. They are 3-4 straight up. 3-4 straight up. This is plus 650 on the money line. 3-4 straight up when the sharp action is on the home dog of 10 or more. That blows my mind. I think the Sharps are very, very efficient in some pockets and very, very bad, where the books feel like they can take advantage in other pockets. And in my opinion, this is one where very easily, the books, the mob, whatever you want to say, these markets are manipulated to some extent. I have evidence and proof of that. And this is more of that, because in this pocket, it's very easy to get enough action on the other side to help the Sharps cover cash in these type of spots and get away with it. But I mean, this line with Herbert in, I don't know what you would put it at, Jimmy, but I would put it at a 3.5 or a 4. And it just reminds me of Cincy. When I wish I had the balls. If I didn't bet the Chargers and lose so much, I would have bet the 13.5 when I seen it, because I was sitting there looking at it in the face like, this is the right number. I should be betting this number. And I didn't bet the number, and I regret it. I definitely regret it. But this is just because I've lost with this Chargers team, and I'm pretty much just done with it, just throwing up my hands. I don't think I can take it anymore. But definitely there's only one side in this game to back, and it's the Chargers.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard for me to back the Chargers here, but clearly that's what needs to be done.
Oh man.
Mel talking about regarding the fired coach. Are you on the Ottawa Senators this evening? I'm not, just because I was so caught up in football, but clearly, that should have been. How much time do we have, anyways? We have 13 minutes. Clearly, that should be the move, though. So I find this extremely difficult to pull the trigger. And I'm certainly not going to be on the Bills. Do you have any interest in the total in this one, Troy?
No total in this game. If I'm betting this game, it's going to be the Chargers. The Bills actually are part of the sample. The Bills were at the Jets in Week 9 last year. They were laying 11 points on the road. They lost outright by 3. The last example of this was the Cowboys-Cardinals. Actually, the Cowboys are on there against the Panthers as well, where they got the job done. But that's the only loss. ATS was the Cowboys against the Cardinals on this sample. Cowboys-Cardinals game Week 4, they lost outright by 12.
Yeah. With all the holes on, do you feel like the decision to go with Griff over Kellen Moore will hurt this angle? I find it hard to believe that the players didn't want Kellen Moore to be the coach. I find it impossible to believe. I think it's Spanos being the kind of guy he is.
I haven't put too much thought into it just because this Chargers team has just crushed my heart and soul this year. And Jesus, Jimmy, I have no answer for that, but I agree with you. I don't think that they want a new offensive coordinator necessarily.
Well, I'm going to and North End says, just wait, the public will still hammer the Bills. Spenny's saying Chargers are embarrassing. Look, I get that the Chargers are supposed to be the bet. I'm certainly not betting it tonight, and I don't know if I can get there. But I think that this is a letdown spot for the Bills. And I do want to get some more of an idea if they're angry that Kellen Moore wasn't chosen. Mac Beaver says, yes, Chargers players playing for their jobs and futures. You know, the fact that it's not Kellen Moore means they're not. It means that a new coach is going to come from outside. Spanos has made that decision, right? If it was Kellen Moore as the coach, then they'd be playing for their jobs. I think that the clear message is that Kellen Moore will not be coaching this team as the head coach. I mean, and maybe I'm connecting too many dots, but all right. We'll have to take more time with this. Spenny Pennybomb says not laying points for the Bills, but no way can back the Chargers right now. No,
that's where I'm at, Doug. Doug hit it perfectly on the head.
All right, and Doug saying way better looks on this card to risk anything on these bum ass Chargers. Okay, that is Saturday action here. Let's move on to Sunday, December 24th action, Christmas Eve action, 1 p.m. Eastern. We start with Indianapolis Colts 8-6, 5-2 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons, 6-8, 4-3 at home Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have Atlanta right now at -1 at -106. They opened up at +2. So we've had the dog to favorite situation here. Fascinating. So a huge move towards the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I guess you could say, well, that's because Taylor Heineke has been given the reins and that's too big of a move. There has to be more than just Heineke. From the total scenario here, it's moved down to 44. Now, this opened at 44. So move down isn't the right word. There's been a 10-cent move to the over, but this did open earlier before the games on Sunday at 43. So let's take a look at the cash flow here and see if it follows the money towards these Falcons. And we have, the total has 62 and 64 on the over. The spread has 63% of tickets and 65% cash on the Falcons. The money line has 61% of tickets and 46% of cash on these Falcons. Spenny Pennybomb saying Atlanta at home, the D is solid, and it's being solid. They should cause turnovers on Minshew. Champ Ross saying Colts or pass. Mac Fever saying the Falcons have killed him this year. And Doug saying Ritter is so bad. Terry Walker on the Colts. Harold Williams on the Colts. And Spenny says if it's Heineke, I can get behind it. It is Heineke. Colts come in off their 5th win in 6 games, 30-13 at home over the Steelers. Currently hold the number 7 position in the AFC. Minshew 18-28 for 215 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. So despite losing Michael Pittman, now that was later in the game, and Zach Moss, and not having Jonathan Taylor, they rolled. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Steichen says Taylor is feeling good and thinks that he will play this week. Jonathan Taylor will play this week, Steichen thinks. Zach Moss says he will play this week. It scared a lot of people in the organization because the arm he hurt was the same one he broke in preseason, but it sounds like he escaped a serious injury. And the crazy thing is without Jonathan Taylor, and this speaks to what Dennis Garcia has been saying to us for years, but without Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, the Colts still ran for 170 yards. Trey Sermon ran 17 times for 88 yards. Tyler Goodson ran 11 times for 69 yards. They were 6 of 15 on third down. They're 23rd in the league converting third downs 36.1% of the time. They were just 3 of 6 in the red zone. They're 18th in the league scoring touchdowns on 53.1% of red zone drives. Pass rush was strong. Finished with 4 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. So the Colts now have 45 sacks this season. They're 1 short of a franchise record. Julian Blackmon hit crosshead interceptions. They held the Steelers to 4 of 12 on third down. They're 13th in the league, allowing opponents to convert just 37.2% of third down chances. Steelers went 2 of 2 in the red zone. The Colts have struggled in the red zone all year, 18th in the league. They're allowing opponents to score touchdowns on 56.8% of passes. And defensive tackle Eric Johnson has a lower body injury. He's listed as questionable. Falcons coming off an extremely ugly 9-7 loss at Carolina. You have to think this is a buy low spot on them, and the Sharps must be following that because the Falcons and the Colts are both, capable of getting into the playoffs, but must win. The Falcons only produced 204 yards of offense. A Ritter with 12 of 20 for 150 yards, touchdown and pick, but Heineke's already been announced. Heineke started losses against Minnesota and Arizona. He didn't look that good. 55.4% completion rate. For his career, he's at 63.2. He threw for 498 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He's 12-14-1 in his career as a starter. 37 touchdowns, 25 interceptions. Jonnu Smith led receivers with 2 catches for 61 yards. Algier had 14 for 45. Bijan Robinson looked bad, struggled, ran 7 times for 11 yards, also lost a fumble. They were 6 of 13 on third down. Atlanta 13th in the league, converting 41% of third downs, 1 of 2 in the red zone. I mean, I don't know if we need to talk about their numbers because now it's Heineke and not Ritter. The defense tried to keep them in it, but it wasn't enough. They held the Panthers to 0 of 3 in the red zone. This defense, and Spenny talking about how good they can play, they're second in the NFL in red zone defense. They allowed TDs on just 37.5% of opponent opportunities. They're less than 1% away from being the best in the league. They're third best in the league in third down defense. They allow opponents to convert just 33.5% of opportunities. The pass rush gained confidence this past week. 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. They've been questionable at times. Is this a perfect buy low spot for the Atlanta Falcons, Troy, or do you believe in what you're seeing from the Indianapolis Colts?
I kind of believe more in what I'm seeing out of Shane Steichen. I mean, this is the template I think teams want to follow. You hire an offensive head coach, and I think if that wasn't the case, if they were to hire a defensive head coach in this scenario, what would their record be? This is a good example of a team that I think would have maybe the inverse record of what they currently have. But they've won 5 out of 6, 2-1 on the road. And in my opinion, those 2 were 2 lucky wins against the Panthers and the Titans. Against the Panthers, they had 2 pick sixes. Against the Titans, 2 blocked punts inside the opponent's 10-yard line. They've had the 4th easiest strength of schedule, and I'm not saying that this is a step up in class by any means, but they're coming off a 17-point blowout. And Atlanta is at home where they've definitely been better. This Falcons team is different at the house, and I think it's a perfect spot to fade the Colts. Now, how do you beat Indy? You run the ball, you stop the run. That's first and foremost. Falcons, okay, they haven't ran the ball as good as we'd expect them to, but what they do is they run play action. And the Colts struggle to defend against play action. And one game that sticks out to me more than any other game is the Browns game, where they put up, Browns put up, 35 points or 38 points or whatever it was. Most of that was off play action. Just to kind of frame things up, I think there's a few matchups that I like in this game as well. The Falcons are able to stop the run. On PFF, their run defensive grade is number 1. Now, this is first a weak strength of schedule, but it is number 1 currently. And the Colts also struggle to beat zone coverage. And Downs and Pierce actually grade out as one of 2 of the worst receivers in the NFL for zone coverage. And is Pittman in or out? What do you think about that, Jim? Is Pittman out? Did you touch on that?
At this point, we don't know, but I would expect him to be out.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I expect him to be out. And the last thing I want to say on this game before I talk on my action is when home team opens as a dog of less than 3 and they flip the favorites of less than 3, they're 9-4 straight up. I'm on the Falcons. Representing A-Town, +2, give me the money line, get it however you want. And I think the Falcons are the right side in this game. I only moved on the +2, Jimmy. That's what I got right now.
That's a great
So I moved on it early. I tweeted it out. All my action, as soon as I bet the game, I tweeted out. So I bet this on Sunday night.
Oh, it was a smart move. It was a smart move. Now you have to move Falcons money line, but I don't mind doing it. I like the look. I like the plan. Do you have any concern with Jonathan Taylor coming back, or do you just trust the Falcons run defense?
I trust the Falcons run defense. I think they'll stay solid. Jonathan Taylor is a great running back, but I don't think he's a game-changing running back, at least in this current offense that he's in.
Colts are 5-2 on the road. And that just is Steichen, right? I mean, that's part of the reason why we think he's so phenomenal. And watching the Eagles struggle,
and two of those wins, I couldn't get over them. I struggled to get past the 2 wins on the road earlier in the season against the Ravens and against who else was it? Ravens and another good team, Texans. And stomped the Texans, but that was before Stroud was Stroud, and the Ravens, they just caught him in a bad spot in this freaking sloppy game, rainy game early in the season.
It's a good question from North Ender, but let's close with this and then or was it no, it was Al Cervic. Good question from Al Cervic. Let's close on this. Who has the better quarterback in this football game, Heineke or Minshew?
I would have to say Minshew because he has Steichen as his offensive coordinator, knows how to put him in the right spots.
So you're saying that the rest of the team and the Falcons being at home is the difference maker?
Yes. Yep. And awful loss. Still playing for a playoff spot. Colts off these, just huge wins, just rolling them off. Just, what is it? 5 of 6. 5 wins out of the last 6.
All right. I'm going to join you. Let's roll on. Next up, we had the Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, 1 p.m. Eastern. The Seattle Seahawks 7-7, 2-5 on the road at the Tennessee Titans 5-9, 4-3 at home. Nissan Stadium, 59 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 7 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We will start with the spread, and it has moved to a 3, which is what we were expecting. Now, it's not a real 3. If you want the Seahawks -3, it's plus 105. It did move to a real 3 today. I didn't realize this at 5:32 p.m. It was a real 3. And then the Titans started getting hammered. Huh. Wow. I missed that. Now, maybe it would have scared me off a little bit, but I'm very interested in the Titans here. From a total perspective, we are sitting at a 41. This opened up at 41 and a half. It's dropped a half point. From a cash flow perspective here, we have, get up to the top here. We have these Titans with 12. Oh, that's the money line. Well, out of curiosity for you guys, 12% of the tickets, 95% of the cash is on the Titans. But, who would bet the Seahawks on the money? What pros would bet the Seahawks on the money line unless you're making a ridiculously big bet and you're not a volume better? From a spread perspective here, we have 45% of the tickets and 56% of the cash on the Seattle Seahawks. And on the total, all we know is that 82% of the tickets are on the under. We don't have any cash flow here. The Seahawks come in off a short week after their very impressive 2017 victory at home over the Philadelphia Eagles, snapping their 4-game losing streak. I don't know how they are not, I don't want to be too extreme about it, but I think this is a really bad spot for them. Drew Lock threw a 29-yard touchdown pass with 28 seconds remaining to Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's become a huge part of this offense to give them the victory. Lock was 22 of 33 for 208 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I think that this groin issue is going to keep Smith out of this game too. I really do. Now, this is, again, just sort of a guess, but when you're dealing with these injuries, he's clearly not 100%. It's the re-injure risk is so high at this point that I imagine that they at least start Lock here. And even the fact that Geno Smith was available for emergencies, I think that'll just be the exact same situation this week. He'll be available for emergencies. Metcalf caught 5 for 78. Smith-Njigba caught 4 for 48 and the game-winning touchdown. Second game-winning TD in the fourth quarter for Smith-Njigba this year. He had that one against Cleveland. That guy's just got big. He's a big game football player. Kenneth Walker ran 19 times for 86 yards and touchdown. He was phenomenal. He caught 3 passes for 26 yards. Seahawks went 6 of 14 on third down. They're 27. They're, I've hammered their stats all year, how bad they are. It doesn't matter where you look. Offensively, they're 27th in the league on third down, converting 34.1% of opportunities. In the red zone, they're 26th in the league. They scored touchdowns on 47.7% of red zone drives. The pass rush was non-existent, but it didn't seem to matter. They didn't have a sack or a hit on Jalen Hurts. He's sick, and you can't get a sack or a hit on him. Eagles were 2 of 3 in the red zone. Seattle's 26th in allowing opponents to score touchdowns on 65.1% of red zone drives. They're the third worst third down defense in the league. The Eagles went 9 of 16 on third down. They're just, I still can't quite comprehend how they are winning. Now, Julian Love, that second pick was absolutely incredible, but he had 2 interceptions. They're big players making big plays, but as a group, I don't know how they're doing it. Titans coming off a 19-16 overtime loss at home to the Texans, who are missing C.J. Stroud out with a concussion, Case Keenum at quarterback. The loss eliminated the Titans from playoff contention. There's going to be a second straight losing record under Vrabel. They were outgained 340-204 by a Texans team that was also missing Nico Collins, George Fant. You had Blake Cashman was out. Will Anderson's out. Will Levis was 17 of 26 for 199 yards and an interception. He also ran 4 times for 25 yards. Levis left with 149 left in overtime after being sacked for the 7th time. His left leg got cut underneath him in the pile. He didn't put pressure on the leg as he was helped off. Then he walked off. He said it could have been a lot worse, but I think he'll be all right. And then Vrabel's the one who's come in and said that this is a sprained ankle that's just like the sprains that Ryan Tannehill suffered last season, or this season and last season. Treylon Burks led receivers with 3 catches for 62 yards. Derrick Henry was non-existent. And my first thought when I saw how bad he was, I would be interested in backing him this year, but this isn't the same Derrick Henry. I'm not going to do that. 16 carries for 9 yards, 4 receptions for 1 yard. Titans were 5 of 15 on third down. They're 28th in the league, converting first downs 34.1%. At time 1 and 2 in the red zone. They're the second worst red zone offense in the league. The defense battled but wore down late. Pass rush, 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, held the Texans to 4 of 15 on third down. 10th in the league in third down defense, holding opponents to conversions on just 36.8% of opportunities. And then they held the Texans to 1 of 3 in the red zone. They're the best red zone defense in the league. Opponents scored touchdowns on just 37.3% of red zone drives. Elijah Molden returned a pick, 44 yards for a TD. Now, Sean Murphy-Bunting has a hip injury. We don't know if he can play this week. And Jeffrey Simmons, now that the Titans are out of the playoffs, it sounds like he's not coming back. He could play. His knee is banged up, but they want him ready for next year. So it sounds like he's not coming back. So this is what I'm thinking here. I am thinking that the quarterback for the Titans will be Ryan Tannehill, and they'll win outright. But, I mean, I'm maybe connecting too many dots here. Take it away, Troy. The Titans at home to the Seahawks.
It's about that time of year, though, where you, especially with teams like this, the Titans team who are dead as it relates to the playoffs, you kind of got to connect the dots, or else, I mean, that's why we're here on a Tuesday, trying to beat the market, and that's exactly applies to this game here. But the Titans are just a team I can't get right. I bet on them, I lose, I fade them, they cover, win outright, likely. Some of these infamous coaching trends, already alluded to this with Tomlin, are just falling off. Vrabel is definitely falling in the same category as Tomlin, in my opinion. And I'm looking to fade defensive head coaches for years to come, and that includes Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. And like you've been taught, like you said, I mean, I think reality is kind of striking this Titans team and as to where they're actually at. I thought it was hilarious looking through Will Levis's stats. The first game, he had 28 attempts, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, 8.4 yards per attempt. The next 2 games, they came out and passed the ball 40 times. He had 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, was sacked like crazy, 5.5 yards per attempt. And they went back, watched the film, and they're probably like, oh, that's right, we can't pass the ball because our offensive line is terrible. 30th in allowing pressure, pocket collapsing. These offensive linemen are consistently on ice. It's just the pocket starts closing when he catches the ball. 26th in pass blocking per PFF, and they have the worst left tackle in the NFL right now. At this point, the Titans know their destiny. It's not this season, and it's hard for me to get behind the Titans. I would only be on the Titans in this spot, but I have no action.
And, Coin's saying Tennessee's been eliminated, so what's their motivation? If I can get Tannehill back to showcase himself healthy, I'm going to hammer it. Do I want to bet that? I'm almost certain that's what Vrabel was saying. I'm almost certain it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Levis might be okay to go, but we're going to give Tannehill a shot. We're eliminated. Give him an opportunity to showcase himself. wait for Levis, get Levis to watch, have a headset on him, and then Levis will play the rest of the season. So, God,
that 3 won't be here if Tannehill's announced in.
No, and I don't even know if the 3 is legitimately here now. I mean, I do not want to have to juice something up to minus 120 here. I'd like just to take a quick peek. We're going to move on to the next spot on the board, but do you have any interest in trying to get under this total?
I actually have interest in the over. This has fallen in that range where we've seen the market be completely wrong for the most part. This total's ticking down, landing between the numbers that I like. This would be an over spot or nothing. And I actually see Joe Yuko in the chat who made me realize that that's what's going on here, talking about the over. And I would agree with that. This market moved too much.
I can't get a legitimate 3. I'll have to pay for it at Pinnacle, which isn't the worst thing in the world. And North Ender says, I've seen Tannehill stretching on the sidelines last week. He looked hungry. He wants to showcase, and I think Vrabel will give him the opportunity. Give me that one game to showcase myself so I can have a job next year, whether it be a starter or a backup. Okay,
I really like that angle, Jimmy. I really like that angle.
And Spenny's saying the best you can see at +3 minus 118 a penny. The problem, and Sammy's saying Titans one of his favorite spots. The problem is that you move on it, and it it could blow up in your face. But I really think that Vrabel was letting us know what the plan was. And Mac Beaver's agreeing with the take on Vrabel. So I guess I'm going to do it. Even hearing Sammy saying Titans one of his favorite spots interests me very, very much. So, and then I look. I mean, if I move on the Steelers expecting Pickett and the Titans expecting Tannehill and have neither, I mean, I don't show up next week.
Then you probably cash both tickets. Then let's be honest.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm close to I'm on the edge here of smashing shit and losing my mind. Okay. Let's end. Andrew G saying Case Keenum was confirmed starting today. Yeah, CJ Stroud will not be starting here, unlikely to play. Okay, let's roll on. Next spot on the board for us, 1 p.m. Eastern. Detroit Lions 10-4, 5-2 on the road. Minnesota Vikings 7-7, 2-4 at home. We're at US Bank Stadium, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Lions come in off a dominant 42-17 victory at home over the Broncos, perfectly predicted by Troy Torrence here. If Detroit wins a division title for the first time since 1993. Gets to host a playoff game. The Lions have had one playoff victory since they won the NFL title in 1957. Jesus. Makes me feel a little better about being a Canucks fan. They outgained the Broncos 448 to 287. They looked very good doing it. And now they head out on to the road against Flores' defense after that defense got gashed late by the Bengals. So it's a pretty interesting situation. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have the Lions sitting at -3 at -121, a juiced -3. This opened up at a pick'em. The Lions got hammered. Yesterday morning, this -3 was -131. Then tonight at 5:44 p.m., this was back to -107, back to a pick'em. And then at 6 p.m., there was another major move on the Lions. Now at -121. So 15 cents of movement towards the Detroit Lions. Take a look at the total here in this one. We have a 47. This opened right there at 47. There's been no movement. There was some initial movement to the under. Let's come back here. Let's take a look at the cash flow then for this spot. We have on the total 66% tickets on the under. We don't know what the cash flow is. Then you have 77% tickets, 72% cash on the Detroit Lions. 77 and 72. Doug says he's close to moving on the Lions -3. Nice. They have fun in the game, man. It's dope that you're there. Said you almost beat up drunk Santa. You're allowed to. You're always allowed to beat up a drunk Santa. So Jared Goff was 24-34 for 278 yards and 5 touchdowns. He had turned the ball over 8 times in the previous 4 games. Monroe St. Brown caught 7 for 112 and touchdowns. Sammy Laporta, 5 catches for 56 and 3 touchdowns. Jeez, first rookie tight end in the history of NFL to have 70 receptions, 700 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Second round pick out of Iowa. Man's a beast. Jahmyr Gibbs ran 11 times for 100 yards. Montgomery ran 17 times for 85 yards. That was also perfectly predicted by you, Troy, expecting the Denver Broncos not to be able to handle any kind of or deliver any rush defense whatsoever. They were 5 of 10 on third down. Detroit's now 7th in the league, converting 43.2% of third down opportunities. They were an unbelievable 6 for 6 in the red zone. They're now 6th in the league in the red zone, scoring touchdowns on 62.9% of red zone drives. Their defense looks strong for the first time in a while. You know, that first half, they were dominant. Denver was 1 of 6 on third down, had 75 yards, total yards in the first half. Pass rush looked better, 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Held the Broncos to 5 of 13 on third down, 15th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 38% third down opportunities. The Broncos went 2 of 3 in the red zone. That's been a problem all year, problem area for the Lions. They allowed touchdowns on 68.1% of opponent red zone drives, third worst in the league. And, you know, they lost quarterback Jerry Jacobs and tight end Brock Wright during the game, but both say that they can play. They were listed as questionable here. And shout out to both Big Show Picks for his great NFL podcast and Razor Sharp Picks, who you have to have a future bet on Big Show's podcast. Razor doesn't mess around, so he put $1,000 on his pick, and that is Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl. He got him at 20-1. It was before they went 6 for 6 in the red zone. Vikings coming off a disappointing 27-24 overtime loss in Cincinnati. They've lost 3 of 4. The only win in that stretch was that 3-0 win at Vegas. Nick Mullins, 26 of 33 for 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I almost laugh when I think of him. I mean, there was some wild stuff he was delivering and fortunate. I mean, the line between the Jordan Addison touchdown and a pick six is, we're talking a taint hair thick. Jordan Addison caught 6 passes for 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jefferson 7 for 84, and Ty Chandler, man, 23 carries for 132 yards and a touchdown. He also caught 3 for 25. Madison sprained his ankle. I don't know if Madison gets the job back. Vikings were 5 of 12 on third down. They're 15th in the league in third downs, 2 of 5 in the red zone. They've struggled there this season. I mean, 4 quarterbacks. Of course they have. The defense that's looked much better of late under the tutelage of Brian Flores allowed Cincinnati to score 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns. Pass rush was once again strong. Daniil Hunter, 2 sacks. DJ Wanham has been a revelation. Finished with 4 tackles and a sack. Bengals 6 of 13 on third down. Minnesota 23rd in the league, allowing opponents to convert 40.6% of the time. It's their red zone defense that's been so good. So they held the Bengals to 2 of 4. They're now 7th in the league. And how do they don't really have the player personnel to be that good. It's Flores. Take it away for us here, Troy. You had an enormous score on the Detroit Lions, and you like this Vikings defense. How are you moving on this one?
Yeah, I love this Vikings defense. And when I first seen this game on the board, I couldn't wait to get to it because I thought I'd be on the Vikings, and I knew this number was moving. I was like, I got to get the Vikings at 3.5 before it gets down to 3 or maybe even 2.5. Because in this division, too, it just seems like you can't go wrong with a dog, especially a home dog. And then I can't get the Mullins story out of my head. It was just what happened with Mullins. Some of those interceptions, some of the blunders he had were just you just can't have it in the NFL. This is your job. You're a professional. When you're getting sacked and the defensive lineman that's sacking you picks off the ball, that's a no-no. I mean, I don't know if we've ever seen that before. The defender sacking the quarterback intercepts the quarterback. But that was just how bad of a decision that was. I don't think you could trust Mullins at all. But, you know, they benched Dobbs because he laid out, he aired out, what's his name, Justin Jefferson. He put him on air. So they benched him, and I think Mullins is significantly worse. That's my opinion, because he'll give you the illusion of a competent quarterback, and then he'll do something like that. And it just so happens to be in the red zone. The field shrinks, and it makes the pressure so much more significant on a team that struggles to run the ball. It makes it so much harder for him to pass. And there's one key advantage in this matchup that I ended up loving for the Lions, because I really thought I was going to be on the Vikings. But you got Goff; he's indoors again. I think they'll be able to run the ball effectively. Go look at the teams that they've played that run the ball. There's only 2 teams on the list that run the ball heavily. 3 teams. It's the Eagles, who went for 7 yards per carry. The 49ers only went for 3 yards per carry, but they were in a negative game script out of the gate. And it was the Falcons, who put up 28 points on them. And then not a lot of it was on the run, but so I was like, so how'd they score all these points? So I went back and dug through it, rewatched the game, and I found out, and I started digging through the numbers, and I found out that the Vikings are extremely exploitable through play action pass. That's how the Eagles, not only did they run the ball effectively, play action passing, they were almost perfect in success rate, and the Falcons are just alike. So I think that they'll be able to run the ball effectively. I feel like they'll be able to use play action as long as they don't fall into a negative game script which I don't think they will because Goff shouldn't turn the ball over, being indoors. Maybe I'm jumping to a conclusion that, like you're saying, connecting the dots, but that's how I connected them. I think the Lions have a significant advantage. Not to mention, this is a spot we talked about before. When the line moves towards a home dog and it lands on 3, they've been very unprofitable. They're only 3-9 ATS in the past 2 seasons. So I've already did it. I pulled the trigger. Lions -3 at a -110.
Good job getting the pick'em line. I don't think that's going to be around for a while. Was there concern that this was a buy high spot?
Yes, absolutely. Especially after the Vikings, that loss that they just had, just a heart-wrenching loss. They're going to come back and show out at home. Last time I bet against the Vikings at home, it was the Saints game. And we know what happened there. The Vikings win outright as a dog. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely have concerns in a lot of these bets. At least, until I see the final market, I always have concerns. But sometimes sometimes I won't have a concern. Last week, I had no concern at all with the Lions, but I definitely have concerns.
Do you have interest in this total here? The total sitting at 47. There was a move to the under, then it stopped. I mean, are we expecting the Vikings to put up points? Do we think Detroit can get some confidence defensively? That pass rush finally looked okay. What do you think of the total at 47?
I think the total going under makes a lot of sense. Even though this is a range where the total likes to go over quite frequently, the issue is that when the home team's a dog, in this case, you have a good defense at home as a dog. This is an underplay to me.
Yeah, I'm interested in the under as well, and I'm interested in the Lions. I think that was a nice breakdown. Let's keep rolling. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Washington Commanders 4-10, 3-5 on the road. The New York Jets 5-9, 3-5 at home. MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, 46 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 2-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Commanders, Jets. We have the Jets -3 at -113. They opened up -3 at -103. 10 cents of movement to the Jets. And it wasn't always that way. When this line opened up, the move was clearly towards Washington. The move towards the Jets happened today at 12:39 p.m. The initial move was towards the Commanders. Take a look at the total here in this one, sitting at a 37, -110 to the over. Now, this opened up at 38, so it's dropped a point. So we have a slight juiced move to the Jets, and then a move here to the under. Again, this under didn't move till 2:33 p.m. today, so it's not a real forceful move to the under, but a move all the same. 51% of the tickets and 44% of the cash on the Jets. So, not sure what the right spot is. 95% of tickets, 98% cash on the under. Commanders coming off that 28-20 loss at the Rams. It shouldn't have been as close as it was. They were outgained 445 to 297. Sam Howell struggled before Jacoby Brissett came in and looked good. Howell was 11 of 26 for 102 yards, a touchdown, a pick, but Brissett came in late, 2 TD drives, 8 of 10, 124, 2 touchdowns. And Ron Rivera has come out and said Sam Howell starting. McLaurin caught 6 passes for 141 yards and touchdown. That was a career high, 141. Curtis Samuel caught 5 for 41, 2 touchdowns. Brian Robertson Jr. out with a hamstring injury, and the running game stalled. Chris Rodriguez ran 10 times for 35 yards. Washington just 3 of 14 on third down. They're 19th in the league on third down, 37.3 conversion rate. Commanders were 2 of 3 in the red zone. They've been strong all year there. I mean, they have weapons. 7th in the league, scoring touchdowns on 61% red zone drives. The pass rush that's been non-existent the last few weeks looked better. There was a Jerome Payne sighting. We've been waiting for Payne to show something here for a while, and he showed 2 sacks. Commanders finished with 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, but they couldn't get the Rams off the field. The Rams were 9 of 16 on third down. They held the ball for 35 minutes, 53 seconds of the game. You're going to lose. Washington 24th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 41.9% of third downs. Now they held the Rams to 1 of 3 in the red zone. That was pretty good. Rams are a dangerous red zone team. Commanders 19th in the league, allowing opponents to score 57.1% red zone drives. Jets come in off a tremendously ugly 30-0 loss at Miami. The loss combined with wins by Houston, Cleveland eliminated the Jets from playoff contention 13th straight year. And now Aaron Rodgers is not coming back. He said it on the radio today. Not coming back. Not going to come off of IR. The Jets finished with just 103 total yards of offense. Zach Wilson looked atrocious. 4 of 11 for 26 yards. And then Simeon I mean, he looks awful as well. I mean, just pick your poison. Both quarterbacks lost fumbles. I mean, it's just horrible. Garrett Wilson led receiver. I mean, I wonder what they think watching Flacco throw for 212 yards in the fourth quarter. I mean, maybe they made a personnel mistake. Garrett Wilson led receivers, finishing with 3 catches for 29 yards. Their running game was nowhere to be found. 12 carries. Well, why are they only running the ball 12 times? I mean, I get the Dolphins that were smashing and they were filling the box and forcing the shit quarterbacks to beat them, but still, 12 carries for 32 yards.
Your quarterback back, like it's just unexplained. Like I can't. It's undefensible the fact that they don't run the ball. This is every week, even when they have the lead, they do the same thing. We talked about the Jets Broncos. They passed the ball 30 times in the second half and only ran the ball like 5 times. It was what? They had the lead.
It's shocking. It's just some of the decision making. And the Jets have done this all year. And Sky Dragon saying, why the heck can Jets be laying points? Jets were 5 of 13 in the red zone. They remain last in the league, converting. 5 of 13 on third down. My fault for saying red zone. I wrote that in wrong. But they're last in the league, converting 25.5% of third down opportunities. They're last in the league in the red zone, converting 34.5% of red zone drives. Now, the defense is doing all they could. They just couldn't get quite enough stops. I mean, Dolphins had the ball for 36 minutes, 21 seconds. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, held the Dolphins to 6 of 15 on third down. The Jets are 20th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 39.3% of opportunities. And I think they'd be much better if they had a better quarterback because they wouldn't be on the field as long. I don't think it's quite I don't think it gives you the right idea of the Jets defense. Because look at the Jets defense. They held the number 1 red zone offense in the league. Now, to 2 of 5 in the red zone. After the Dolphins went 2 of 5 in the red zone, the 49ers leapfrogged them into the number 1 red zone offense in the league. But Jets are 5th in the league, allowing opponents to score touchdowns on just 43.6% red zone chances. And then they lose 2 defensive linemen. They lose Quentin Jefferson and John Franklin Myers. I agree. How can the Jets be favored here? Troy, is it they come back home and is this, if you can ever, now I screwed this up earlier in the year. Remember I said this is the only time all year you're going to get to sell Zach Wilson high and it didn't work out for me. We had another opportunity this past week and because the first one didn't work for me, I didn't move on this one. I should have. What do you think here? Commanders, Jets.
Yeah, man, you tried to talk me off this one. Like low key last week, I heard you, and you were on the Jets too, right?
I screwed up with the Jets, man. I said
you had it right. You had it right because I felt like you were talking me off. And
yeah.
And just to go back, I look at this game. The first thing I think about is Rivera and Staley, or Rivera and Saleh. These 2 defensive head coaches. These teams are struggling. Saleh is definitely the worst of the 2 coaches, in my opinion, and Hackett's not any better as an offensive coordinator. I don't know if it's Saleh pushing down the orders at this point. Maybe Aaron Rodgers, and I've heard some inklings of Aaron Rodgers may start this game, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous.
He said on radio today, he's unless he was lying on radio. I watched it. He said he's not going to be taken off IR because they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous if he started, but it really doesn't matter. And you talk about Trevor Siemian. This guy just was dropping back and throwing the ball up for grabs. I mean, he didn't look like he gave a shit at all. But his feet were, he was just thrown into the fire. We talk about quarterbacks not looking good when they just get thrown in there. Maybe it was a case like that. But I don't know. I cannot. I immediately wanted to run to the window with the Commanders. Well, that's what I did last week with the Jets. I just cashed with the Jets on the money line as a dog. Took a huge spread at 6, closed 3.5, had the money line, had the spread at 6. Like, it was just a beautiful thing, and I just wanted to continue riding, thinking I had chances to buy low still even after a win. But this is just not one of those teams. Saleh, man. This coaching staff, I can't wait to fade this team when Aaron Rodgers is back. We'll get great lines to fade him. And, I wanted to run the window with the Commanders. I'm not betting this game.
Yeah, I don't see why I would it's probably a buy low spot on the Jets that I don't want to buy low on. And,
it is. Absolutely. That's what it is. But I can't do it. I won't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be trying to find a way to get on the Commanders. And I don't want to do that either. Terry Walker saying the Jets here.
Terry, I mean, if you don't have the pain and the scars that we have from this team, then you got it, brother. But I can't do it.
I'm going to spend more time on the game. I guess I have a tiny bit of interest on the Jets, but I certainly I'm going to do nothing now. I'd like to hear some more interviews tomorrow. Okay, let's move on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Green Bay Packers, 6-8, 2-5 on the road. The Carolina Panthers, 2-12, 2-4 at home, Bank of America Stadium. Charlotte, North Carolina, 53 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 5 miles per hour. What a disappointing 2-game run for the Packers. It's funny how different they can look with the last 2 weeks compared to the 2 weeks before that. I mean, they go into Detroit, they beat the Lions, and take out the Chiefs, and you think this is the real deal. And then they fall apart. Wild stuff. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have Carolina at +5. You hear Troy talking about this number quite a bit. They open up +4, a legit 4 at a pick'em. So there's a 1-point move towards the Packers, now 2-5. From a total side of things here, we have a 36. Opened up at 37 and immediately dropped to 36. From a cash flow spot here, we have on the total 56% tickets, 73% cash on the over. Yeah, it's dropped a point and it dropped immediately. On the side here, 29% of the tickets and 69% of the cash on the Panthers, yet the line's moving the other way. Packers coming off that disappointing 34-20 loss at home to the Bucs. Outgained 452 to 321. Jordan Love, 29 and 39, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did lose another fumble. Dontavian Wicks led receivers with 6 catches for 97 yards. I think he's going to be the real deal. A.J. Dillon was out. Aaron Jones ran 13 times for 53 yards, caught 4 for 16, 6 of 12 on third down. They're 6th in the league in third down offense. They convert 43.8% of third downs offensively, but just 2 of 5 in the red zone. They've struggled there all year. 22nd red zone defense. One part of that group of teams that are at 50% in red zone offense. The defense got pressure on Mayfield, but got gashed through the air. 353 yards. Baker Mayfield does that to you. And they got 5 sacks, but they allowed the Bucs to go 7 for 11 on third down. And that Green Bay defense has been bad on third down all year. They allow opponents to convert 42.1% of third down opportunities. Bucs were just 2 of 4 in the red zone. The Packers defense is strong in the red zone, 9th in the league, allowing opponents to score touchdowns, 51% red zone drives. But Jair Alexander has missed 6 straight games with a shoulder injury. I mean, is he ever going to come back? Christian Watson hamstrings out of the 2nd straight game. Darnell Savage is not playing. So those are big pieces to the puzzle, especially Jair and Savage. I mean, if you see them getting gashed through the air, I mean, how helpful would those guys be? Now, I know Jair didn't look great before he got hurt, but it'd be nice to have Savage back there patrolling at safety. Panthers come in off snapping their 6-game losing streak, 9-7 win at home over the Falcons. Bryce Young, 18 and 24 for 167 yards. He was 5 of 5 for 68 yards on the final game-winning drive. Thielen led receivers with 4 catches for 43 yards. Did drop an easy touchdown pass. So Chuba Hubbard ran 22 times for 87 yards. Held the Falcons to just 12 first downs and 204 yards of offense. They were 5 of 15 on third down. They've struggled there all year, 24th in the league. 0-3 in the red zone. They're 29th in the league in red zone offense. Unable to dial up a pass rush. No sacks. 1 quarterback hit. But their defense was strong throughout. Falcons were 6 of 13 on third down. Carolina's been very good in that regard all year. 7th in the league, allowing opponents to convert third downs 36% of the time. Falcons held the Falcons to 1 of 2 in the red zone. They're horrible red zone defense. I mean, we're talking horrific. They allow touchdowns on 77.1% of red zone drives. I mean, that's just horrific. Xavier Woods did have a crucial interception halfway through the 4th. And then Dante Jackson left the game early with a back injury. He's listed as questionable this week. And JC Horn's now been back for a few games. He's a huge help. Take it away for us here, Troy. Packers, Panthers.
This game at 5 now is all over my radar. And I don't know what it is. This exact market is just perplexing to me. When the line opens at 4.5, and it moves towards the road team, in a 5-game sample, this has happened. Home team is 5-1 ATS. And this is the other leg of this is the Sharps have to be on the home team. 5-1 ATS. They're winning at a 50% clip. And you ask yourself, why? Why is that happening? Why are they moving the line away from the Sharp action? And I'm trying to rationalize it. I'm saying to try to slow the Sharps down. Maybe put question marks in their head like, hey, am I on the right side here? What's going on? Or to induce public action on Green Bay to get more tickets on the Green Bay side. But ultimately, it's shown that it hasn't mattered. The Panthers are the right side based on this market. I think the Panthers are the right side based on this market. This is where the Sharps are better than the books, and the books are doing bad things, with bad intentions, in my opinion, moving this line. The Packers were never certain what we're going to get. Their defense was non-existent last week. I watched that entire game. And the Panthers, they're still trying to find their identity. It's not easy to back the Panthers. I've done it multiple times this season. I'm 50-50. I've hit 50% of the tickets, so I'm kind of losing to the juice with this team. But they have the ability to run the ball. and that's where the Packers are extremely weak. And Bryce Young is coming off the best game of his career based on his PFF grade. So I don't know what they've seen that gave him that grade necessarily, except that he didn't turn the ball over. But if I'm playing this game, I'm taking the Panthers. I'm taking the home dog. And I don't think I'd be taking it, based on the sharp, I'll be betting with the sharp action essentially in this game. I trust that they're in the right spot.
I like where you're going with this. Are you going to wait to see if this goes to 5.5, 6?
Yeah, even at 6, this is a crazy, crazy situation with this market that the sharps are the right. So if it comes down to it, we get a 6. I don't care if it's 4.5 or 5.5, but if it's a 6, I like it a lot better because one of those games in the sample have landed on the 6. So, and the only game in the sample where they didn't cover was the Ravens-Titans game in London. So I don't know if you want to include that because the home road dichotomy, but technically the Titans were the home team in that game, and it was still very, very close on the spread. So yeah, I love this game, and actually. It's 3 out of the 6 games in this sample landed on 3 exactly. I posted a text. I was having a text with another home dog about another home dog, and I posted this that I was telling him like, hey, in this sample, this game lands on 3. This is the Browns-Bears game. Well, guess what? The Browns won by exactly 3. And what about a little Panthers plus 3.5, Packers minus 2.5 plus 1,500 parlay to sprinkle that in your action? I have it listed down. I'm thinking about doing it.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting take. Yeah, the Packers haven't officially been eliminated, but we think they've given up at this point.
Who, the Pack?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they've given up. I just don't. You can't trust what team you're going to get with all the variance happening with the Packers right now. And most of their performances, what have they done on the road? Me and my buddy Joe Yuko were talking about this game too. They really haven't done much on the road. And the games that they have asterisks on, if they've won on the road, they have asterisks next to them. Who says they win by margin on the road? I trust this Panthers defense. I think this Panthers defense is legitimate. Mm-hmm. They're definitely a solid unit, potentially the best unit on the field.
Yeah, I think they're with the injuries that the Packers have defensively at this point, they're the better unit. I agree. I'm going to wait too. I would like to see who becomes available for the Packers. Coin looking at the under. Sean Pulliam looking at Bryce Young over pass attempts. Okay, let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Browns 9-5, 2-4 on the road at the Houston Texans, 8-6, 5-2 at home at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. The big news here, C.J. Stroud not expected to be under center for the Texans. Another week off for him. It's too bad because now we have that logjam top the division. Colts, Texans, Jags. Browns coming off a 2017 victory at home over the Bears. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have pull this up here. We have right now Houston at +1. They opened up as 2-point favorites. They're now 1-point dogs for these Texans. The rest of the books are at a 2. Should probably refresh all this to see if it changes at all here. I don't see it updating. So let me just see if we have any changes with the announcement. Yes, now 2.5s across the board. They're saying the Pinnacle has not moved. I would have to pull up that site and make sure I was logged in to see. But here we go. From a total scenario here, let's refresh this too, because I imagine that it's all moving with the C.J. Stroud announcement that Schefter dropped. So we're sitting at a 40. I don't think Pinnacle's updating on this site because they're saying that Pinnacle's at 41.5. I should pull the site up, but it's 40 everywhere else. So cash-wise here for this one, you have 90% of the tickets and 94% of cash on the Texans. Line moving towards the Browns, but it's based on the injury information. 75% of tickets, 96% cash on the over. The Browns coming off a 2017 victory at home over the Bears. Flacco 28-44 for 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Then he throws for 212 yards in the fourth quarter to rally the Browns from that 10-point fourth quarter deficit. I don't know a sports fan who can't be cheering for him. How do you not cheer for the man? I've cheered against him so many times in my life, and now I find myself cheering for him. Cleveland's now won 6 games by 4 points or fewer They've been very impressive this year. He's thrown for 939 yards in 3 games. Amari Cooper caught 4 for 109 and a touchdown. Njoku caught 10 for a career high 104 and a touchdown. The running game could not deliver. Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, Pierre Strong combined for 17 carries and 30 yards. Browns are 4 of 16 on third down. So I have just the Flacco number. So with Flacco at quarterback, the Browns are converting 30% of their third downs. Over that stretch, last 3 games, they're 27th in the league. They were just 1 of 3 in the red zone. With Flacco at quarterback, they've scored touchdowns on 50% of their red zone drives. That's 22nd, tied for 22nd over that stretch. So, he's just doing it when it counts. That's all. He's showing his veteran savvy, you could say. The defense kept them in the game long enough for the offense to deliver in the fourth quarter. The pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. DeAnthony Bell and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah had interceptions. So this is the league's number 1 third down defense. And yes, they're better at home than they're on the road, but their numbers on the road are still very good. They held the Bears to 4 of 18 on third down. They allow opponents to convert 28.3% of red zone opportunities. Now, that's even better at home, and it's not that bad on the road, 36%. The Bears did cash their lone red zone chance, so that's where the Browns have struggled all year. It's amazing to have the best third down defense and such a horrible red zone defense, and then the opposite was true with the Buccaneers. Remember, early in the year, they had the best red zone defense and almost the worst third down defense. So it's happening here. They allowed touchdowns on 68.6% of red zone drives. Only the Panthers and the Bears are worse. Jedrick Wills Jr., offensive tackle, and DeJuan Jones, safety Grant Delpit. Defensive tackle Maurice Hurst. They all didn't play. Either Oronquo, he didn't play either with the pec. And then they lose Joel Bitonio to a back injury. He says the back's really flaring up right now, but that doesn't mean he won't be able to play. Anthony Walker inactive after getting hurt in practice this week. Then Mike Ford Jr., their cornerback, went to the locker room in the first quarter because he was sick. Didn't come back. And they still get the job done. It's really impressive. Texans coming off a big 19-16 victory over Tennessee without Stroud, without Nico Collins, without George Fant, without Will Anderson, without Blake Cashman. Then they lose Jimmy Ward to a concussion on the first drive. He didn't return. He's in concussion protocol. Now we know that Stroud's not likely going to play. And despite all these missing pieces, they outgained the Titans 340 to 204. Case Keenum, 23 of 36 for 229 yards, touchdown a pick. Noah Brown caught 8 for 82. Singletary is playing out of his mind. I'm shocked when I see this. 26 carries for 121 yards, caught 4 for 49. The Texans were 4 of 15 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone without CJ at quarterback. The defense was excellent. The pass rush finished with 7 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. Nelson had an interception, held the Titans to 5 of 15 on third down. They have pretty middling stats defensively in third down and red zone. They're 18th in third down. They're 15th in the red zone. Take it away for us here, Troy. We have the Browns at the Texans.
Yeah, Dennis Garcia's comments, and he made a post about it on Twitter. Why are Browns games always on drugs? He just posts randomly in the chat. Game will most likely be on drugs. That shit has me dying because every time I watch the Browns, dude, I feel like, have I smoked my shit yet today? No. What am I watching here? But I give the Browns a ton of credit. And I feel like my read on this team was accurate from the very beginning of the season. I had high expectations. Obviously, all the injuries are definitely hampering them. Somehow they're able to get through. And it's definitely on the backs of this great defense. And people talk shit about this defense being on the road, but there's a lot of asterisks you can put by those road games as to why they give up so many points. And I could take you through it. I've talked about it at length. I'm not going to go deep into that. But I want to talk about the Texans a little bit, who I actually thought this team was a sleeper in the preseason. I talked about them in the first week, talking about like, hey, this team has a chance to win the division. But look at who they've lost to. The Jets, the Jags, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Colts, and the Ravens. Actually, all of those teams that I just listed off are in the top half of the league per PFF from a defensive standpoint. And only 2 of those are top 10 from a defensive standpoint. That's the Ravens and Jets, where they've lost by an average score of 27-7. I think this is just a huge like tipping point with the defensive scale where when the Texans play against a great defense, they just can't hold their ground. Now you're going to tell me there's no Stroud. Now you're going to tell me they're beat up at receiver. They're beat up in the secondary. This is just another spot I hate to do. I'm pissed at myself that I didn't take the 2.5. I seen the 2.5. I wanted to tease it. I wanted to bet it. I was like, hold on. You've been betting the Browns all season. Just wait. Let's get a 3. What the hell am I doing, man? Should have had the 2.5. Should have had the 8.5 in a teaser. But luckily, I got the -1. I think it continues to move as the week goes on. Oh, actually, hey, the Houston Texans did beat. Someone talked about it in the chat. So the Houston Texans did beat the Saints, who right now are top 10 in PFF. But if you go back and look at that game, let me pull it up real quick because I remember looking at this game. So Carr threw for 353 yards. They missed a field goal. They missed 2 field goals in the 2 red zone field goals. They had 2 other drives where they had penalties in the red zone. Fumbled off an interception. The Saints should have won that game. I think this Browns defense, I don't care if the Browns defense is downtrending or they're bad on the road. Based on the database, I'm certainly with the Browns. As long as this market isn't moving towards the Texans, which now it's too far gone, I'm on the Browns. I got a -1.
I like it. Makes sense. Troy on the Browns -1. Big shout out to Ian Shaber. Thank you so much, Ian, gifting a membership, and Al Cervic getting it. I love it. Thank you, Ian, for your support, my friend. Yeah, I'd like to join you on this. Is there any fear with what the Texans are building and the hype and the excitement that they have coming to the stadium? Nothing?
No, I'm not. I know that they're going to have a hyped stadium, but that hype is going to be quelled, and it's going to start by Singletary going, 12 carries for 10 yards, and that's how this game is going to look, in my opinion. They're going to struggle to run the ball. They're going to struggle to pass the ball. They're going to turn the ball over. And even though the Browns are going to be on drugs, they're going to have turnovers too. At the end of the day, they'll be the ones with the W.
I like it. Let's roll on. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars 8-6, 5-1 on the road at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-7, 3-3 at home. We're at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. 70 Fahrenheit, light rain, 9-mile-per-hour winds. Take a look at the line history here for Jags Buccaneers. And now we can sit here finally deep into the season and be thankful finally that we don't have futures on the Jaguars, because that was the plan, and I got off it, and then I felt bad. I thought, oh, I made a terrible error. Pinnacle is not popping this game up here for some reason, so we'll go to Bet Online. Use Bet Online's look. Again, if you don't have a Bet Online account, you can go to our website, pubsportsradio.com, and click on our link, and if it's a new account, they will give you a bonus up to 100%, not up to, they'll give you 100% up to $1,000. Nice little deal there from Bet Online. This opened up at Bet Online 5 days ago as the Jags at -3. Now we have the Jags +1 in this spot. So we've come full circle here on what the Bucs and Baker Mayfield have been doing, which does pose the question, is this a possible buy low spot on this Jaguars football team? Let's get into the total here at Bet Online. We have a 42. This opened up at 44. We've dropped 2 points towards the under. So here we go. Take a look at the cash flow then for this one. From a cash flow perspective, 62% of tickets, 67% cash on the over. 66% tickets, 63% cash on the Jaguars spread. And on the money line, 61% tickets and 86% cash on the Jaguars. But this line is moving pretty feverishly towards the Buccaneers. Jaguars coming off that ugly 23-7 loss at home versus the Ravens. Trevor Lawrence, 25-43 for 264 yards, a touchdown. Also ran 4 times for 41 yards, lost 2 fumbles, and it was horrific watching them play. Just horrific. Jamal Agnew caught 2 for 70 and a touchdown. Travis Etienne ran 10 times for 31 yards, caught 4 passes for 28 yards. Jags were just 3 of 13 on third down. They are 22nd on third downs, converting 36.5% of the time. They were 0 of 3 in the red zone. They are 17th in red zone offense, scoring touchdowns on 53.7% of red zone drives. Pass rush got pressure, but just not enough stops. They finished with 3 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Ravens had the ball for 34 minutes, 19 seconds. Ravens were 5 of 12 on third down. All the stats for the Ravens are nice. They're 6th in the league in third down defense, holding opponents to conversions, just 35.8% of opportunities. There were 2 of 5. The Jags held the Ravens to 2 of 5 in the red zone. And I got caught up with the Ravens there, and I know we're talking about the Jags. So the Ravens were 5 and 12 of third down, and that's the best angle for the Jaguars defense. Sorry, I screwed that up. They're 6th in the league, the Jaguars defense, third down defense, holding opponents conversions 35.8% of the time. They held the Ravens to 2 of 5 in the red zone. The Jags are 15th there, holding opponents to touchdowns 54.6% of the time. Buccaneers coming off that impressive 34-20 victory at Lambeau over the Packers, 7-7. They're tied atop the NFC South with the Saints. They outgained the Pack 452-321. Baker Mayfield, my goodness, 22-28, 381 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did lose a fumble, no picks. Godwin led receivers with 10 catches for 155 yards. Rashad White continues to look good, 21 carries for 89 yards, caught 2 passes for 15 touchdowns. They were 7 of 11 on third down. They're now 11th in the league. Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers are 11th in the league in third down offense, converting 41.5% of the time. They're tied for 22nd in red zone offense. They went 2 of 4 there. That's exactly their season average, 50%. Their defense dug in and got stops. The pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. And also the Bucs allowed the Packers to go 6 of 12 on third down. Now that's been a problem area that I mentioned a little bit earlier. They allow opponents to convert 42.5% of third down opportunities, but they're still very strong in the red zone, 4th in the league. They're doing it without Carlton Davis and without Devin White. He's close to returning. Jamel Dean did return. They're getting stronger. They still don't have William Golston. Take it away for us here. Jaguars, Buccaneers, Troy.
This is a tough game. Immediately, this is buy high, sell, or buy low, sell high spot. I was a Bucs backer for the first 5-6 weeks of the season. I boarded the Bucs train, and unfortunately, I did so because they've cashed now 2 weeks in a row. And they finally have some semblance of a running game. Baker Mayfield had the best game of his career, undoubtedly. Defensively, they're still not a team I want to trust. To me, everything was shaping up to buy low on the Jags, but I don't. With all the question marks at quarterback and my faith in this team from day one, I'm not trying to back the Jaguars in many circumstances. And prior to the season, I had these two teams graded out neck to neck, unlike a lot of other people. And man, this is definitely a Jacksonville or nothing spot. I haven't moved yet, and what I can't get out of my head is Beathard after his first drive when he got thrown into the game against the Bengals. He looked like he was going into cardiac arrest on the sideline. Man, this guy ain't ready to play NFL football. I am not interested in this game.
And of course, the move based on I don't know how I slipped the note, but the move on Trevor Lawrence in concussion protocol. I don't remember where he got hit. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was late in the game, and he kind of got whipped down and hit his back of his head on the ground.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that now, actually, when you come back to it, because I thought he could get pulled at that point when I saw the whip.
Yeah, right.
There you go. And now this is, of course, Sunday action, so we haven't seen very many quarterbacks get through this concussion protocol here. I wonder if he can get there now, but I can understand, and that's why Pinnacle, of course, doesn't have the line out. So, I mean, do you want to try to beat this because they don't want to risk Trevor Lawrence or anything? But he's so good at bouncing back from injuries. I guess it's best to wait, but if it is Beathard, then you're never going to get a better line than you can get right now.
No way. I think if it's Beathard, I think we see threes.
I mean, even if it's Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the way the Bucs have been playing, that they probably should be the favorite here.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, I agree. Even if he's ruled in, I mean, the worst it would go to would be a pick +1 maximum. I don't see. I think we see 2.5s for the Bucs if he's in. No way. I agree. This is the best line.
What's keeping you off betting it?
Recency bias, because I've been fading this team, the Bucs, the past few weeks unsuccessfully, and I just would hate to finally back them and just trying to keep form, keep my mental strong, because it's so easy to lose it around this time of year. You're right, though. You're right. It's definitely looking like a Bucs spot.
Yeah, DG Lawrence is in a concussion protocol. And Dan Kelly saying that Trevor Lawrence has never missed a start in high school, college, or pros because of injury. All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Arizona Cardinals 3-11, 1-6 on the road at the Chicago Bears, 5-9, 3-3 at home at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. 47 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 9 mile per hour winds. get into the line history here for this one. We'll start with the side here for this Cards Bears spot. Right now at Pinnacle, we have the Bears as minus 4.5 point favorites. That is I don't remember the lot. Now it's not a real 4.5. I guess it's a 4 because it's 4.5 at plus 105. But I do not remember the last time I said that out loud, that the Bears were 4.5 point favorites. This total right now is sitting at 44.5. It opened up at 44.5. As a pick'em, there's been a 7-cent move towards the under. Let's get into the cash flow here for this one. We have, where are the Bears? Sorry, give me a second here. We have 79. Oh, that's the money line. My bad. From a spread perspective, there's 45% of the tickets and 74% of the cash on the Bears. And then from a total look, we have 21% of the tickets and 44% of cash on this under. Cardinals coming off 45-29 loss at home to the 49ers. Kyler Murray was 26-39 for 211 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. The Cardinals ran for 234 yards on the NFL's number 1 rush defense. And, the Niners are focused on the Ravens. The Niners didn't play very focused in that football game, but they're just such a good football team that, they can have their head not fully in and still, put up 45. James Conner led the way with 86 yards and a touchdown on 14 carries. I told you guys last week, he wants 1,000 yards despite missing 4 games. He's told everybody in the room, and they're giving him the opportunity. Trey McBride caught 10 for 102 yards. We talked about that. Last week, with the Cards coming in off the bye, how it's just nonstop action to the tight ends. I put this on the silver platter for the player props, but I try and not bet player props, but it's just continuing. It's all James Conner going for 1,000, and it's all the tight ends getting the action from Kyler. They were 7-16 on third down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush was invisible. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Now I know the 49ers offensive line is tough, but they have the second worst third down defense in the league. They allow opponents to convert 46.8% of opportunities. The 49ers also went 4. So the 49ers went 4 of 7 on third down. We'll talk more about that when we talk about the Niners, but they let the 49ers go perfect 4 for 4 in the red zone. They're 23rd in red zone defense, allowing opponents to score touchdowns on 60.7% of red zone drives. Marquise Brown left with a heel injury. We have to wait and see the extent of that. We know that lingers. And then tight end Jeff Swain left in the second quarter and didn't return with a calf injury. But what have we seen from this Cardinals offense with Kyler Murray is in the red zone? They're very good, and he's very dangerous there. And we can expect that to continue, and we can expect the third down conversions with Conner and Kyler together to continue to be much higher than their season average. The Bears coming off a tough 2017 loss at Cleveland saw them unable to hold on to a 17-7 lead in the fourth quarter. Fields 19 of 40 for 166 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. Also ran 7 times for 30 yards. DJ Moore led receivers with 4 catches for 52 yards. They were just 4 of 18 on third down. They're 12th in the league, converting 41.3% of third downs this year. 1 of 1 in the red zone. They're 12th in red zone offense, scoring touchdowns on 56.8% of red zone drives. The Bears couldn't get stops in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. Flacco gashed them for 212 yards in the fourth quarter alone. Montez Sweat is rolling. 7 tackles and 2.5 sacks. As a team, they got 4 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Interceptions from Tremaine Edmonds, which he brought to the house for 45 yards. Tyreek Stevenson, Eddie Jackson. This secondary for the Bears is making plays, man. They held the Browns to 4 of 16 on third down. Now they're 29th in the league on third down, allowing opponents to convert 43.7% of the time, but they've been much better in the last few weeks. They held the Browns to 1 of 3 in the red zone. They're still the worst red zone in the league, allowing touchdown 71.8%, but even there, they're better. It's 57% over the last 3 games. Tevin Jenkins, their guard, was in concussion protocol. He was taken to the locker room in the second quarter. That hurts them. Take it away for us here. Do you agree, Troy, that the Bears should be 4 or 4.5 point favorites against anybody in the NFL?
No, I don't. I can't believe all the sentiment, guys I respect in the chat talking about this Bears spot. I don't like this number at all. I know right now the current cash flow situation, the sharps are on the Bears, and the line is kind of starting to sneak the other way, and that's not usually a good spot for the Bears, and that aligns with my thoughts on this game. I feel like you're right. I think you kind of alluded to the Cardinals having some ability to run the ball and talking about a prop, and I kid you not, Jimmy, is that what you were kind of alluding to, thinking about a James Conner prop?
Yeah, I mean, it was on a tee for me last week. I'm just, I just tried to cut that out of my whole repertoire, but
it hasn't opened yet. But I'm that's the only note I have on this game is that James Conner over rushing yards, all the sentiment about this Bears defense that has been so great against the run. But you look at, some of the teams that actually run the ball like the Lions, they just fell into a negative game script in both of the games. The running backs were gashing them. And I think that that's the best angle in this game based on the line where it's currently at. What is James Conner's line going to open at? It's going to be something very, very respectable that he's going to be able to get over. It hasn't opened yet, but I'll see what it looks like. I'm not going to take the Bears. I'm not going to take the Cardinals. I think Conner rushing prop is the way to play it.
I don't think I kind of have interest in the Cardinals. I just don't feel like this Bears offense can really hurt the Cardinals' weak defense. And the Cardinals offense can keep them in games. That 4 might be too many points.
So the noise adjusted score of both these, this is going to be, if you watch Action Network at all, they put out luck rankings. And that's one of my favorite things to reference is the luck rankings that I forget what his name is, talks about it. This is going to be one of the highest luck ranking games from last week. If you look at the noise adjusted score on PFF every week, they post a noise adjusted score where they try to clean it up. It's kind of a reflection of luck. The Cardinals only lost that game. You covered that spread, Jimmy, and I agree. The Cardinals only lost that game by 6 points, and actually the Bears lost their game by 7 points. And I would agree with both of those based on what I've seen. I was on, I watched both these games, and I would agree with it. I didn't rewatch it and grade it out and give luck rankings, though, but I would agree with where that landed.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Very tough one. And the line's moving towards the Cardinals slightly right now, but the big bets, Londo, are on the Bears at this point. So I don't think we can say the sharps are on the Cardinals because 45% of the tickets on the Bears, 75% of cash. But and Doug says San Fran slept through that game as well. They did. And the Cards moved the ball. I mean, we talked 234 yards on the ground. Okay. This game's gonna take more time. Do you have any feel on the total then for this one? I mean,
my gut tells me at the 44 that's an over spot. We talk about that 44 being a very reactionary number. I think that if it goes above or below, it'll tell the tale. And actually, the last time we talked about it, that came true, didn't it? It went towards the under. I actually bet the over, saying it moved more than 2.5 points. It's too much, and it went under.
Well, let's talk about the next spot on the board. It's an absolute beauty. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Dallas Cowboys 10-4, 3-4 on the road. The Miami Dolphins 10-4, 6-1 at home at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. 74 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 16 mile per hour winds here, but the winds doesn't affect that stadium quite as much as other spots. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Sunday 4:25 action. Right now at Pinnacle, they have the Dolphins as 1.5 point favorites. They opened up at 1. The market's just been moving towards the Dolphins. That's all. Just moving towards the Dolphins. Let's take a look at the total here for this one. We're sitting at a 50.5. This opened up at 51.5. So we've dropped a point. That move happened today. It happened today. Let's move on to the cash flow here for this one. Cowboys, Dolphins. We have 45% of the tickets, 83% of the cash on the Dallas Cowboys. 45% of tickets, 83% of cash on the Cowboys. Sorry, get to my fault. Let me move to all markets. I'll make this a little easier. Here we go. My apologies. Too many screens up, man. Too much. Okay, here we go. For that, we have 45% of tickets, 83% cash on the Cowboys. Then we have 29% of tickets and 95% of cash on the under. Clearly a big bet on the under has come in today. After, again, struggling on the road, the Cowboys head to Miami. They come in off that ugly 31-10 loss at Buffalo. The Sun put up just 195 total yards. This Dallas team at home, juggernaut, outscoring opponents 279-108, 7-0. On the road, they're outscoring opponents 156-152. This is just a crazy, crazy extreme dichotomy. Dak was 21-34 for 134 yards and a pick. He also ran 4 times for 27 yards. CeeDee Lamb caught 7 for 53. Jake Ferguson caught 6 for 44. Tony Pollard ran 11 for 52. They were 5 of 13 on third down. They're now second in the league in third down offense, just behind the aforementioned Bills. They're also, and they're second here in 48.5%. Third downs they convert. They were 1 of 2 in the red zone. For all their success offensively this year, they haven't been very good in the red zone. 15th in the red zone, 55.9% success rate. They were gashed on the ground. The Bills finished with 266 yards rushing, which allowed them to hold on the ball for 35 minutes. 5 of 9 on third down. The Dallas defense, very mediocre on third down, 17th. They allow opponents to convert 38.3% of third downs. 3 of 4 in the red zone. The Cowboys are ranked 22nd in the league, allowing opponents to score on 60.5% of red zone drives. Pass rush was nowhere to be found. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. Dolphins coming off an impressive 30-0 win at home over the Jets. Held the Jets to 103 yards of total offense. 2 of 21-24 for 224 yards, touchdown and a pick. No Tyreek Hill due to an ankle injury. Waddle stepped up. 8 catches for 142 yards and touchdown. Raheem Mostert, 2 more touchdowns. That's franchise record. 20 touchdowns this season. And we expect Tyreek Hill to be back for this one, and he will be angry. He still wants 2,000. The Dolphins held on to the ball for 36 minutes and 21 seconds, 6 of 15 on third down. They're 9th in the league, third down offense. They were just 2 of 5 in the red zone. They're no longer the number 1 red zone team in the league. The Niners leapfrogged them, but they're still 68% cash rate. Defense looked excellent. Held the Jets to just 23 yards rushing, 0 first downs on the ground. Bradley Chubb, 3 of the Dolphins' 6 sacks. The team got 14 quarterback hits as well. And Chubb, man, 2 tackles for a loss, fumble recovery. He leads the NFL with 6 forced fumbles. Brandon Jones had 2 picks. Jets were 5 of 13 on third down. Miami's 11th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 36.8% of third down opportunities. And the Jets did not run one play in the red zone. And Miami struggles there. They're bottom 4 in the league. They allow opponents to cash 65.9% of red zone opportunities. Right tackle Austin Jackson hurt his oblique. Emmanuel Ogba, linebacker, also left with a hamstring injury. They're both listed as questionable. Take it away for us here. The big one, Troy, a big one. There's a couple this week. Cowboys, Dolphins.
Yeah, I have a buddy texting me saying, hey, what are you talking about, market manipulation? Well, I'm like that weird uncle who talks like a conspiracy theorist like all the time. And I mean, that's me. That's totally me. But I have proof of what I'm saying. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or whatever. Call me. I will walk you through what I'm looking at. These sports betting and equity markets alike, I'll show you the manipulation. But the irony in this game has me going through a loop. At one point, I thought I wanted the Cowboys. Then I thought I wanted the Dolphins. I didn't know exactly where I was going to land. This is definitely a game that I want to bet. I think the market is going to be very telling, especially where the cash flow currently sits and the spread is below 2. It's going to be very telling if this spread lands at 2 in either direction of who the right side is in this game. And both these teams have pretty much the same narrative. They can't win the big game. They can't step up in class. So who's going to win here? And is it a step up in class if you beat another team that doesn't step up in class? I don't know. But when you look at the body of work from this Cowboys team, their losses have come against mobile quarterbacks. And that's not the case with Tua Tagovailoa in the slightest. They also lost versus run primary teams. Also not the case, even though they do mix up the run and pass very well. And I think what their offense is, I think just the scheme in general is just beautifully put together by McDaniels. And the Dolphins' body of work, they haven't beaten one team with a winning record in general. They haven't beaten a team in the top half of the league per PFF. Dolphins definitely haven't stepped up in class, but none of these times that they've had the chance to step up in class in the past 2 seasons have been at home. How can you trust Dallas on the road? And the one thing I couldn't get my arms around, which I want to understand better, probably go back and watch some film, is that we know the Cowboys are going to play man-to-man defense. Tyreek exposes man-to-man just like he exposes zone. He's a perfect wide receiver. If he had a little bit more height, he'd be literally the perfect image of a damn wide receiver, what you want, what you expect. Just so much IQ, so much speed. He's definitely going to be huge to have back in this game. And how are they going to perform versus man-to-man? That's what the question is. They're like Dallas plays man-to-man at the highest rate in the NFL. So if they're going to be able to, and you'd imagine that with Waddle and with Tyreek Hill, they'll be able to beat it. But if you look at Jalen Waddle's numbers versus man versus zone, he's much better versus zone. So I need to do a little bit more digging into this game. I think the market let it develop a little bit, and it'll be telling it as to what the right side is.
I'm with North Ender. I hate that Dallas was embarrassed from North Ender and Miami just smashed. I mean, that's the only reason why I'm hesitant to move on Dallas. It's just because. Excuse me, I'm hesitant to move on Miami just because of how bad Dallas just looked. I just, but
right.
This is a really cheap number for Miami. It's I mean, if this was a playoff game, I would be ready to make a big bet on Miami. But that would mean that if they met in the playoffs, that would mean that Dallas has just won, and look probably okay doing it. Here, off of being embarrassed, it just doesn't feel right. When we get to the total here in this one, do you agree with this move to the under that happened, 5 hours ago?
Yep, I agree with the under. Any total over 50 in my estimation, and all the numbers I look at is way too high. So I'm in agreement with the market from the total standpoint, and I think that's also very telling, man. If this market moves towards the under, man, I really like the Dolphins in this spot. I want to see the 2.5, and I'll move on it.
Yeah, I have some interest in the under too, and I understand what Sky Dragon's saying. I get it. It says Dallas can't guard Miami wide receivers. They can't stop the run. They're at home, and Miami's at home. And all year, people have said they can't beat good teams. But Sammy Coleman also there's some truth to it, and I know that DG caps a little differently. He doesn't let these things really concern him, but you put out the Dolphins -1.5 after winning 30-0 and watching the Cowboys get trashed. You have to think that the public is going to come in heavy on the Dolphins. And we haven't seen that yet. We have seen 55% of the tickets come in on the Dolphins, but just 17% of the cash. This
is definitely one where I think the money line market is much more applicable, but it's the same exact thing here. It's the same exact market. So, and I agree, Sammy Comer. Like, I agree with both Sky Dragon and Sammy Comer. Like, this is definitely one of those games where it's you can make an angle from both sides.
Well, first off, the main thing is that it's a buy low spot on the Cowboys, but they've been bad on the road and haven't beaten good teams. And then you could also say that the market is set up for people to hammer the Dolphins. So you put those two together and then it's comfortable to stay off. But I also think the under is in play. I also think this is going to have a playoff type feel to it. And those playoff type football games generally move towards the under late in the season. I think I move on the under here. I think I do that tonight. That would be my plan.
What the total open at, Jimmy?
At Pinnacle, it opened at 51.5. And it moved to 50.5 today. There was also never a move towards the over. It's just been going towards the under, slow and steady. When we go over to Bet Online to see what they've done with this total here, they have it sitting at 51 right now at a pick'em. This opened up at 51, a week ago, and the first thing it did was it moved to 52, and then on Sunday night it moved back to 51 where it stayed. Yeah, I think this is a very thoughtful, intense, well coached, especially from the Dolphin side. I mean, hard to say the Cowboys could be coached well, but we all know what's happening with McDaniels over there. He's elite.
I think I'm with you on this under. I 100% want to be on the under in this game.
And this Dolphins defense,
database is on it too, definitely on the under. And
this Dolphins defense just looks better and better and better every week. I mean, they look stronger and stronger and stronger every week. Sky Dragon said if Dallas gets their team total, game goes over because Dallas can't guard Miami. And Al's saying he can't touch the under. I like the nice high total here. All right, I'm going to move on the under. Let's keep rolling here. Next up for us, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. This is our Sunday night live game, but it is on Christmas Eve, and it looks like we're not going to have a Sunday night game. We're going to be with our families, it looks like, but we're still in discussions for that. This would have been our Sunday night game. 8:15 p.m. Eastern, New England Patriots 3-11, 2-4 on the road at Denver Broncos, 7-7, 4-3 at home. Empire Field, Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 34 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 13 mile per hour winds. Let's get into the line history here. We have this total very low, but we'll start with the spread. Denver right now -6.5 at -111. This opened up at 5.5. It's moved a point in their direction, 5.5 to 6.5, and is juiced towards them. From a total scenario here, we have a 34.5 at -109. This opened up at 36.5. We've dropped 2 points already on this total. And when we get to the cash flow for it, we have 85% of the tickets and 75% of the cash on the Broncos. Then 93% tickets on the under. We don't have a cash count, but we've seen that it's dropping. And Nutflush on saying, consider that thought on that Dallas under. Yeah, I hear you, Nutflush. I do find that appealing here, but I don't want to double up and I don't want to get too cute with it, but I hear you. Patriots coming off a 27-17 loss to the Chiefs, 206 yards of offense and 10 first downs. They didn't, they're starting to score points. And I do agree that the offense looks better with Zappy, but they were 2 of 12 on third down. They're 29th in the league in third downs. Their last 3 games, they're 25.6% on third down. That's last. Bailey Zappi, 23 of 31 for 180 yards, touchdown, interceptions. Hunter Henry looks great, 7 catches for 66 yards. The running game struggled. I was surprised by that. I know the Chiefs' rush defense is strong, but Zeke, 11 carries for 25 yards. They were 2 of 4 in the red zone. And the red zone offense has been much better of late. And it was strong earlier in the year. It never really was bad. It was just that when they had that streak of, no points, they were just not getting to the red zone. They actually have a pretty decent red zone offense, and that's probably because of the skill of Hunter Henry. And I know O'Brien's had a horrible year as the OC, but over their last 3 games, the Patriots are cashing 66.7% of red zone opportunities. The defense tried to keep the minute. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. The Chiefs were 5 of 13 on third down. The Pats' third down defense, 12th in the league, allowing conversions 37.1% of time. They got 2 interceptions. Should they be 6.5-point dogs here to the Broncos? And is this a spot where Zeke can bounce back, especially against a Broncos team that can't handle running backs and that you've cashed so easily with that angle, Troy? Broncos coming off an ugly 42-17 loss to Detroit. Their hopes of making the playoffs for the first time since 2015 took a sizable hit. They were outgained 448 to 287. Their offense came out sputtering. 1 of 6 on third down in the first half and just 75 total yards. Russell Wilson, 18 of 32 for 223 yards and a touchdown. No picks. He did lose a fumble. Jerry Jeudy caught 3 for 74 and Sutton caught 5 for 71. Javonte Williams had an off night. 12 carries for 27 yards, and he lost 7 yards on 2 receptions. Broncos were 5 of 13 on third down. They're 20th in the league converting to third downs 37.1% of the time. They were 2 of 3 in the red zone, tied for 26th in the red zone offense, scoring touchdowns 50% of red zone drives. The pass rush just couldn't get enough pressure on old toddler hands. They didn't force him. They did sack him twice, but there was just didn't, and actually they hit him 7 times, but watching the game, it just felt like he had all day. But Jared Goff threw for 5 touchdown passes against this secondary that we think is good. They allowed the Lions to go 5 of 10 on third down. Denver has the second best third down defense in the league. They allow opponents to convert just 33.3% of the time. And then the Lions were 6 for 6 in the red zone. The Broncos have struggled in the red zone, 21st in the league, allowing opponents to score touchdowns 57.7% of the time. And then Nick Benito's inactive still, it hurts. He's a very important member of this defense, and he's listed as questionable to go this week. Take it away here for our Sunday nighter, Troy. Patriots, Broncos.
I have maybe a little bit short-term memory bias with this Denver Broncos team. That spot last week, just everything aligned. Buy high, sell low, couldn't stop the run, X's and O's, the market, everything was just perfectly sound in that game, and it's definitely not the case here. The question always is and always will be with this Broncos team, can their opponent run the ball, and will they run the ball? I think we know the Patriots are going to run the ball on Sunday or whenever on Christmas Eve, but it's just so hard to tell if they'll have success just because they're so limited elsewhere. 2 of the 3 Patriots wins did come on the road. I don't know if I could trust this offense yet, and someone else talked about this. I thought it hit home with me, but the Broncos are kings of unforced, lucky turnovers, and the Patriots are ones to force feed and hand deliver turnovers to their opponents. So this is definitely a Patriots or pass. I'm definitely not backing the Broncos. I think that this is a piss poor football team. I don't believe in them. I don't like anything about them. It's Patriots or nothing for me.
Are you concerned by the move through the 6?
Absolutely. I don't like to see that. Don't like to see that at all. But I'm definitely not backing the Broncos. You can't talk me out of the Broncos in this game, no matter what. Like, I don't care who you are or what you tell me. It won't
Do you
happen.
agree with this move to the under from 36.5 to 34.5?
No, because I think that this has definitely a good chance of going over. Especially, I didn't look at the market cash flow. If we're seeing a lot of heavy public and cash, sharp action on the under, and it's dropping to the under usually this low, it's not a good story for under backers.
Well, let's move on to Christmas Day action here. Monday, December 25th, 1 p.m. Eastern. We start with the Las Vegas Raiders, 6-8, 1-5 on the road. The Kansas City Chiefs, 9-5, 4-3 at home. We're at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 55 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have the Chiefs as 10, it's really 10-point favorites. The 10.5 here at Pinnacle that they're showing is a plus 110 for the Chiefs. So maybe it's even closer to a 9.5. But the Chiefs 10-point favorites market wide. From a total perspective here, we're sitting at a 42. That's a pretty low total for a 10-point favorite. This opened up at 43. It's dropped a point to 42. Get into the cash flow here for this one. Christmas Day action. 59% of tickets, 68% cash on the Chiefs. 85% of tickets, 99% cash on the under. Raiders coming off that 63-21 home victory over the Chargers. Broke their franchise record for points. Up 42-0 at the half. So that was just 3 points shy of the NFL record for halftime. The NFL record, 2009 Patriots were up 45-0 over Tennessee. O'Connell, 20-34 for 248 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Devontae Adams had his first 100-yard game receiving since I think that was week 3. I think I wrote that in wrong. I believe it's week 3. He also threw a touchdown pass. Josh Jacobs unavailable due to a quad injury. Zamir White came in and ran 17 times for 69 yards. Jacobs continues to be questionable. He's not practicing. Raiders were 9-16 on third down, 25th in third down conversions, 35.2% time, but they were perfect for 3 for 3 in the red zone, 22nd in the league, scoring touchdowns, 50% of red zone drives. Their defense was strong. They didn't allow the Chargers to cross midfield until the third quarter, but Easton Stick and no Keenan and no Williams, and it's a pretty ugly group. All of the offense from the Chargers came when the game was out of reach. Pass rush was strong, finishing with 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. They allowed the Chargers to go 6 of 12 on third down. Vegas 26th in the league, allowing opponents to convert 42.5% of third down opportunities. The Chargers were 2 of 2 in the red zone, but they were meaningless spots late in the game. I don't think we should. But the Raiders' red zone defense is not good. So Colton Miller with the shoulder and their center, Andre James, a center for them, ankle injury, did not play. And linebacker Diablo suffered an ankle injury. They're all listed as questionable this week. The Chiefs coming off that 27-17 victory over the Patriots. Mahomes was 27 of 37 for 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And Rashee Rice and Mahomes are really finding it. They look pretty electric right now. 9 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco still dealing with the shoulder injury. Clyde Edwards-Helaire came in, and he struggled on the ground. 13 carries for 37 yards, but then he caught 4 for 64 in a touchdown. They held the Patriots to just 206 yards of offense and 10 first downs. This defense is the real deal. 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. They're 9th in the NFL, allowing third down conversions just 36.7% of the time. They held the Patriots down to 2 of 12, held them down to 2 of 4 in the red zone. Offensively, the Chiefs 5 of 13 on third down and 3 of 5 in the red zone. Should the Chiefs be double-digit favorites? And do you ever want a double-digit favorite with a total under 44? Take it away, Troy. Christmas Day, Raiders, Chiefs.
I definitely need to do more work in this game. There's no doubt about it. But I'd love to continue fading the Chiefs. And I wouldn't be backing the Raiders or backing the Raiders. It'd be fading the Chiefs. Divisional home favorites laying double digits. They're very profitable on the road. I actually brought the stat up on the 49ers Cardinals game. Despite you should have got the cash in that game, Jimmy. I watched that game. Thought you should have cashed. You didn't. But divisional road favorites of double digits, very, very, very profitable. Home favorites, slightly profitable. And what I noticed is there's these massive stretches of covers and non-covers since 2018 of these divisional home favorites of double digits. 6-game stretch last year where the dog covered, and a 5-game stretch this year. And that's what kind of just turned me off right away, because I realized, hey, I don't have an edge in this game. Mob shit is what is going to determine the outcome of this game, ATS, in my opinion. So where do the elites want this number to land? I have no idea. I wasn't interested in finding out, but I would definitely not be backing the Chiefs in this case.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like a huge letdown spot for the Raiders. Sammy Culmer giving us a final score of 27-10. Sky Dragon says this line makes no sense. Kansas City was like -10 at the Raiders. Why are they only -10 at home? Says KC is a defense that's legit. Might cover, scoring only 21 points. And Sky Dragon reminding us, remember, Raiders scored 2 touchdowns off the hop in that game and then got destroyed. I bet you the under is live here. But even that, I'm a little hesitant on. And this total has gone from 43 to 42, but it's not a real 42. It's -120 to the under. You have any interest in the under in this spot?
I haven't done enough work on it. I'm actually just pulling it up now. I'll have to report back on the total.
I wonder if, the Raiders are not going to put up a lot of points here after offense looking so good. I mean, this Chiefs defense is real. And I guess I need more time on it. And I don't want to just grab the Chiefs early, thinking that the Raiders are not going to be able to deliver, even close to what happened last week. I mean, if you want the Chiefs first quarter, -3 is even money or plus money at some books. The -6.5 first half. And then, but I think that might be, maybe you want all the time you can get when you have a better team. But then, of course, the road interdivisional dog. I'm going to spend some more time here on
this. Is funny. This is funny. So I start profiling this game in the database. Sam Culmer gave a prediction of 27-10 Chiefs. Well, the Chiefs were actually in a very similar market back last year, 11-27, November 27th of last season. Almost this exact market, double-digit favorite, total close at 42. Plug in the cash flow splits, and there they are. 26-10, they beat the Rams in Week 12.
It does feel like a similar situation here. Wow. All right, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on it as well. Sky Dragon saying that he does like the Raiders team total under. Caddy saying Raiders have run the ball well against them last time. Chiefs have been running more. Also looks like Pacheco will be back. Under is definitely in play. All right, let's move on to game 2 on Christmas Day, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. The New York Giants 5-9, 2-6 on the road. Philadelphia Eagles 10-4, 5-1 at home. Lincoln Financial Field, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. These Eagles play the Giants twice more over their final 3 games of the season. 49 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 2 miles per hour. Go to the line history here for this one. This is a 12 now. 12 for the Eagles. It's opened up at 10.5. It's now moved to 12. From a total side of things, we are sitting at a 42.5, -110. It's juiced to. This opened up at 43.5. We have a 1-point move towards the under. Take a look at the cash flow then for this one. 84% of the tickets, but just 68% of the cash is on the Philadelphia Eagles, but the market moving towards them. 11% of tickets on the over, but just 28% of cash, and we've seen it drop a point. Giants had their 3-game winning streak snapped in 24-6 loss at the Saints. 193 total yards in the loss. Tommy DeVito, 20 of 34 for 177 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Also ran 4 times for 36 yards. The offensive line was awful. They allowed the Saints to register 7 sacks. Tommy was on the run all game. Evan Neal missed the game with an ankle injury. He's listed as questionable for this week. They need him in there. Darius Slayton caught 4 for 63, and Darren Waller returned from missing 5 games with a hamstring injury. He caught 4 for 40. And the Giants struggled mightily on the ground. Saquon and Breda combined for 12 carries for 24 yards. Giants were 2 of 16 on third down. They're 31st in the league converting, just 29.4% of third downs. They did not make a red zone appearance in the game. They're 30th in the league in the red zone, scoring touchdowns on just 44.1% of red zone drives. Their pass rush was non-existent. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. Allowed the Saints to go 6 of 12 on third down. They're actually quite good defensively on third down. They're 8th in the league, allowing opponents just to convert just 36.1% of opportunities. And they let the Saints go 2 of 2 in the red zone. They struggle there, 24th in the league, allowing opponents to cash 61.2% of red zone drives. So Graham Gano, we know, done for the year with a knee injury. And now Randy Bullock sustained a hamstring injury in the loss. He's listed as questionable. So maybe they're going to be trying out kickers this week. Keep an eye on that. The Eagles come in on a short week off their 3rd straight loss, 2017 at the Seahawks on Monday night. Hurts playing 17 of 31 for 143 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Also ran 13 times for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown caught 5 for 56. He's not happy, you can tell. And Devonta Smith got 5 for 50. DeAndre Swift ran 18 times for 74 yards. They were 9 of 16 on third down. They're third in the league in third down situations, converting 48.4% of opportunities. They were 2 of 3 in the red zone. They're 9th in the league, scoring touchdowns, 60.8% of opportunities. But they couldn't get stops with the game on the line. The pass rush was once again pedestrian. They've shown no resemblance of last year's record-breaking group. 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. They allowed the Seahawks to go 6 of 14 on third down. They remain the worst third down defense in the NFL. I mean, it's amazing. We're going into week 16. And that, because I remember in week 7 or 8, I was like, these numbers will change. They have not changed. They're 28th in red zone defense, allowing teams to score touchdowns on 67.4% of red zone drives. When are the real Eagles going to stand up, man? Take it away for us, Troy. This is an interesting one here. We have back-to-back double-digit favorites on Christmas Day. We just talked about the Chiefs. Now we talk about the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm not interested in backing the Eagles. I think, well, in all these games, all these primetime games, Sunday night, Monday night, I like to let the market fully develop. But in these double-digit situations, it's hard for me to like a side. It's just hard for me to move on it. It's probably not the right thing as a capper. I probably should be able to find an angle and back a side, whether it's a home favorite or a home dog of double digits. But I just haven't I haven't got the balls yet. Let's put it that way. But this game, I mean, the Eagles just had every chance to win this last game. And I'm a little bit bitter about it because I felt like they should have won. They had all the chances to win. 1 first down at the end of the game would have put the game away. Nonetheless, they lost the game outright. Just couldn't make that one play. And I think that the play calling, we talk about it with the Chiefs, with Bieniemy, and I think that Steichen and who they're currently putting out there as their offensive coordinator, something's broken. And one thing I noticed is that this year their run-pass option is all predicated on key screens. He's running an RP. Last year, RPO was 30% of their attempts. 30% of their passing attempts last year was RPO. And it came in multiple ways. Yeah, they threw screens, but they also threw slants over the middle. A.J. Brown caught, I don't even know how many slants. I wish I had that number for you. How many RPO slants he caught last year where they would draw the linebackers in just 1 or 2 steps, dump it right behind them. This year, it's all their RPOs are screens out to horizontally. They're attacking horizontally instead of vertically, and I don't know what's going on here, but it's definitely a huge loss from a coordinator situation. So last year, 30% RPO. This year, only 14% RPO, and it's all horizontal play. I just don't want to get involved with this Eagles team anymore, at least in the short term. To finish out the season, they're going to be double-digit favorites all 3 of these games, and I'm not going to back them. So Giants are passed, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want the Giants here, but I would think that it's short week. Jalen Hurts still dealing with that sickness. It's not going to get any better, going through that game in the rain. DG says, okay. It says, you guys say San Francisco will get to the Super Bowl. I'll give you action because that's like minus 110. Philly plus 350 is more appealing. I think the playoffs are going to be very, very fun in the NFC. DG, very, very enjoyable here. But the Eagles need to get right. And this is a great opportunity playing cupcakes to close out the year. Get right, get healthy. They're not going to get the bye. Jared TG says he loves the Eagles, but they have real issues, a whole lot of them. Harold Williams says, nope, don't trust the Eagles. Giants are bad, but he will pass. And Al Cervix says now Patricia is involved. Weird, no cohesion. Okay, that is Giants Eagles. I also, if the Eagles dominate, I mean, you can imagine that the Giants aren't going to score much, but with the way the Eagles defense looks, maybe this is a beginning of a get right 3-game run for the defense, but I don't even want the under, which is something I would usually kind of move towards when there's a huge favorite. That doesn't even appeal to me here.
Even
Let's
last
move on
year,
to
the Eagles team. Even last year, this Eagles team to finish out the season. I mean, they beat the Bears by 5. They didn't cover. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys. They lost to the New Orleans Saints, and they lost to the Cowboys and the Saints. Minshew was their quarterback, and then they beat the Giants by 6 points with the number 1 seed on the line. I remember I bet on that game, and I don't know if they got it in them. This ain't the same team.
Well, their defense is not showing out. Let's talk about the next big one. This may be the biggest one of the card, although that Cowboys-Dolphins game is very interesting. The final game of Week 16, Christmas night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. The Baltimore Ravens 11-3, 6-1 on the road at San Francisco 49ers, 11-3, 5-1 at home. We're at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 53 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 2-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this one. And we have a 5.5 here. This opened up at 5 and immediately moved towards the Baltimore Ravens. Immediately. Well, 3 hours. Took 3 hours, but it moved a full point. And it was close to a pick'em. At that point, the Niners started getting hammered. It went from -109 up to -132 and then moved to a 5.5. It moved to a 5.5 yesterday, 11:25 p.m. About 23 hours ago. Now we're sitting at 5.5, -109 to the Baltimore Ravens. From a total side of things, Pinnacle's moved this to 47. This opened up at 46.5. It dropped to 46 first, and then it's climbed up to 47. Take a look at the cash flow then for this one. You have 60% of the tickets and 61% of the cash on the San Francisco 49ers, 89% of tickets and 86% cash on the over. Take a look at the X's and O's and then hand it over to Troy. The Ravens coming off a 23-7 victory at Jacksonville. Fourth win in a row, moved a step closer to securing the number 1 seed and home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Lamar Jackson, 14-24 for 171 yards, touchdown and pick. He also ran 12 times for 97 yards. As a team, the Ravens ran for 251 yards. We know that the Niners' rush defense is very, very good, but we just saw the Cardinals gash them for 230-plus yards. Isaiah Likely caught 5 passes for 70 yards in the touchdown. He's been a revelation. Now, their red zone skill set or ability has been struggling a little bit, and you have to think that Mark Andrews not being there hurts them. But Isaiah Likely has been very good. Here on third down, they're 8th in the league, 42.6% of third down conversions, went 5 of 12 against the Jags. But they were just 2 of 5 in that red zone. They're now 10th in the red zone, and they were better before. They're dropping. They're scoring touchdowns on 60.7% red zone drives this year, but they're just at 40% over the last 3 games. And the numbers have dropped in the red zone since Mark Andrews got hurt. The pass rush didn't get a ton of pressure, but they got the job done. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits, held the Jags to 3 of 13 on third down. They're 5th in the league, allowing opponents to convert just 35.4% of third down opportunities. They held the Jags to 0-3 in the red zone. They're tied for 2nd in the league right now in red zone defense, allowing touchdowns on just 37.5% of red zone drives. They lose Keaton Mitchell. That's a season-ending left knee injury. Too bad. They love him. Teammates love him. Everybody loves him. Just a real character guy. Then they lose Ronnie Staley. So Ronnie Staley's in concussion protocol. They also lost Marcus Williams to a groin injury, their safety. They're both questionable. Now they have the extra day because this is on Monday. And Kyle Hamilton came back. And he played through the knee injury, and he was excellent. He's a huge addition. Or, if he's out of the lineup, it's a huge loss. And if he's in, it helps enormously. The 49ers coming off yet another easy victory, 45-29, the Cardinals. During their winning streak here, they've won all of their games by at least 12 points. They're just rolling. Purdy, 16-25 for 242 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. McCaffrey ran 18 times for 115 yards and a touchdown, and caught 5 for 72 and 2 touchdowns. They were 4 of 7 on third downs. That's the interesting part of how skilled this offense is. Now, you could also say the Cardinals' defense is trash, but they had 24 first downs in that football game, and they only made it to third down 7 times. That's crazy. They were 4-4 in the red zone. They now have leapfrogged the Dolphins, best red zone offense in the league, 68.5% of caches on red zone drives. Pass rush got 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Javarius Ward had 2 picks, one of which he returned for a touchdown. Then we go back to this Cardinals running for 234 yards. I mean, I don't know if they were locked in appropriately, but I'd be very curious to see what the Ravens do to the Niners on the ground. The Cardinals went 2 of 3 in the red zone. The 49ers red zone defense is good, not great, just good. They're 10th in the NFL. They allow opponents to score touchdowns on 51.5% of drives. Lenoir left with a rib injury. Those nagging rib injuries. We know that the secondary of the 49ers has been hit with injuries, and they need Lenoir healthy. He may not go with the rib injury. Here we go. The big one on Christmas night, Troy. Ravens at the 49ers in Levi Stadium. Take it away.
Per the usual, I'm waiting. I want to see the market manipulation happen. I'm waiting for the bait and switch tactics, which we see all the last game of the week, every single freaking week. It's unbelievable. I really wanted to back the 49ers here to some extent, but as soon as this pinnacle line dropped at 5, I immediately started looking towards the 49ers. It's just how I feel about that 5. I feel like it opened short. I know it's starting to tick towards the 49ers side, but as long as this doesn't close over the 6 at 6.5, 7, I feel like we'd be in good shape to back the Ravens. And I feel like the Eagles losing definitely disincentivizes the 49ers to some extent. I don't put too much eggs in that basket, but what the eggs I do put in the basket is all about Lamar Jackson as a dog, because Lamar Jackson's 11-2 ATS as a dog. That's much more applicable than a coaching stat that dates back 10 to 15 to 20 years, which the game has completely changed over the course of that time. Lamar Jackson as the quarterback, I think that's very, very strong, that he's 11-2 ATS as a dog. And we know that this 49ers team, the one thing that I've learned about them over the past few weeks is they're susceptible to the run. Arizona proved that this week, and Doug put it in the chat, and I'm 100%. This is where I'm at. They can't defend mobile quarterbacks. Mobile quarterbacks give them problems. If this line stays below 6, I'm going to be on the Ravens. Even at 6, I'd be looking towards the Ravens. And this market is way different. When you have when you have the total, or when you have the spread dropping below the 6, it doesn't work the same inversely where it steams above the 6 from below. It doesn't work the same at all. It's almost the exact opposite, which surprises me. And I'd love to sit here with you guys one day on a live stream and just go through the database and just kind of manipulate all the games maybe in a week. Man, we should really do that, because some of the things you'll find are just mind-blowing. But this is a Raven spot for me, and I'll probably be on them, just waiting for the market to develop.
What do you think about this total here? This total has creeped up from 46.5 to 47.
I think the overs in play in this game. I think the overs in play in all 49ers game with how awesome this team has looked offensively. I just don't see a lot of, and this the thing is, like, in the back of my mind as I'm talking, I'm just thinking about totals in prime time and just how much variance I feel like we're seeing with this huge under, trend. We just went on a marathon of unders, and now it's starting to flip and go over. I just don't want to get involved in a total.
So your initial feeling was towards the Niners, and then you closed saying that you think it's a Raven spot.
Yes. Yep. The 49er, and I think the reason of that is because I watched that Jags-Ravens game, and I had a double result on the Ravens, and I felt very, very fortunate to cash that double result. Now, long run in the game, cashing the -3.5, I feel like that was fair. But the first half, I felt very lucky, so I know that the Jags were way more in that game than the final score shows. And this Ravens team, like Sammy Coleman, I have the same sentiment. I think I want to fade them come playoffs. But right now, in this exact spot, I feel like this is a game that too many points with a mobile quarterback who plays great as a dog and everything to prove. This Ravens team has not proven shit over the past few years. Well, here's their first chance to put their foot down.
Interesting. I'm going to need more time with this Niners spot, but I've left an alarming amount of cash on the table not backing my Niners. And it's just hard to back any team that's a huge favorite every week. It's a very tricky thing. I'm just not comfortable with. Mel says, without Andrews, especially Ravens just don't have the weapons to keep up with the Niners arsenal. Harold Williams says Niners by at least 10. Perfect rotation, giving us a final score of 28-22 49ers here. North Ender early look is the Ravens.
I'm with Doug. I feel like if I seen this line tick up to 6.5, depending on the cash flow situation, if I'd seen it tick up to 6.5, I'd probably be on the Niners to some extent. I feel like that'd be a little bit too strong. And I'm playing a gray area here with these line movements, because some of them you don't have a big sample on, and this is one of the situations.
Per rotation says by this weekend, if the line's still 5, he says it's definitely a Niner spot because that's the opposite of what Troy is saying here. If the line is 5, Troy that's right in your also money line wheelhouse, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Depending on it'll depend on the cash flow. Obviously, I want that's the spot, 5.5 road team. This is the spot for a 5.5. It's short. That'd be clearly short to me.
Ron Crawford spreadsheet play today is the Tennessee Titans +3. Shout out to our Ron Crawford. I'm very interested in Titans. I expect to bet that this evening. All right, let's review all action. Thank you guys so much for rolling with us here. Week 16 breakdown. And Troy gets started on Thursday night with the Rams double and Rams -4. Rams first half, Rams full games +105, and then the Rams -4 as well. Troy hammering the Thursday nighter. Then Bengals money line in the -2. I think that we're going to be on opposite sides of this one.
That sucks. That I don't like it. I don't like it, but I expect it. I expect it at this point. I expect the Tomlin rally spot I expect to be against the sharp action.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. I expect to be on the Steelers and as well move on the under this evening. And my plan is that it's Kenny Pickett playing quarterback. And that will be my plan, that it's Tannehill for the Titans. I don't know what to do with the Chargers here. I'm not going to bet them tonight, but I do think it's a Chargers or pass situation. But I don't find the Chargers appealing at all. And you know what? I might just lay off of it. If they had said, okay, Kellen Moore, he's the guy, then I'd be on the Chargers for sure. I really think that was a twist, another twist that you never know what the Chargers owner. Troy's on Atlanta +2. I agree that the Falcons are a nice spot. I'd like to move on them. Markets move quickly. Great job getting the +2. The Titans, we heard from Ron Crawford. I'm going to be on them as well, and I think Tannehill will be at quarterback. Then Troy is on the Lions -3. I'd like to join you here. I'd like to join you. And the under, I find.
I have a note on the under. Yeah. I have a note to look at that under more specifically.
Then I certainly don't want the Jets right now, but I can understand the buy low spot on them back home, but I'm not moving on them right now. Then Panthers, I'm interested. Troy's interested, but we are waiting. Troy's on the Browns -1. I get it. I'd like to join you. Then, should we move on the Bucs right now, expecting Lawrence not to clear concussion protocol? Again, Dan Kelly said Lawrence has never missed a game in high school, college, or NFL in his life. Don't you think he tried to push to be on the field here in this crucial game? I think I should probably wait on that one as well.
That's a good point, Dan Kelly. I'm with you, Jimmy. I think you kind of got me over the edge there. I'm looking towards the Bucs, but if we wait, the problem is, what are we going to lay 3 with a game that's going to land on 3 at a high frequency?
Yeah,
because even if we're taking a bad line, we would say you get +1. Let's just say. We're still. Does it matter? I don't know if it matters if we're taking it now. If you're backing them, I think you should take it now, Jim.
Yeah, I'll sit with that. This evening. I get it.
Let me know.
Cardinals.
Let me know. Keep me in your mind. If you're moving
I will for sure. Mac Beaver says, does not matter what Trevor wants when it comes to protocol. I do think it does. I do think that a player can push for the tests. I think a player can push that he's right and ready to go. But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying that he's not in charge. Cardinals Bears, we've stayed off. The under in Dallas Miami appeals to me in this one. Miami's defense just gets better and better and better. And this is going to be like a playoff type football game. Patriots Broncos, we are off. And at this point, I need to figure out what to do with the Chiefs here because I want them. I think this is a fade Raiders spot. And I don't like usually in divisional situations doing it. So maybe I don't move on that tonight. I also have interest in the under on that one. Giants Eagles, we have stayed off. And we have at this point in Ravens Niners, but there are some plans that we've made for that game and leans that we have talked about. There you go. Thank you guys so much for being here and supporting the show. I'm coming off the worst week of my life in NFL. And it's a funny feeling to have. It's so funny how drastic and extreme sports gambling can be. Some sports right now, I've never been hotter in my life. And then I fall off in NFL. And then I'm going to go 0-3 in NHL tonight.
High-low spot on Jimmy the Bag in the NFL. Shit, I'm backing all the spots he posts this week. I'm telling you right now. Post the Bucks, I'm backing too.
Stakes are high, man. So
just like you always say, man, you believe in me incredibly. This is why I'm sitting here, man. I believe in you incredibly. So,
thank you, man. Thank you. It just whenever you get, punched in the face, you're jarred for a second. I'm just jarred right now. I just kind of and then I started, doubling down on spots and kind of reaching, which is the problem. It's the psychology behind losing. Thank you guys in the chat. Jacqueline, Mac, Beavers, Chad, Lehman, Doug, Caddy, Mel, Topset, Harold Williams, Mitch Fearing, Al Cervic. Thank you guys for being part of the show. Sky Dragon, Sammy Calmer. Love you guys so much. Thank you for your support. Perfect Rotation, Ron Crawford. Thank you guys for all that you bring to the show. It's been really fun doing the show this year with Troy, and I still got time to climb out of this hole that I've somehow dug in the last 2 weeks. I hope you guys all have incredible holidays. Merry Christmas to all of you guys, and have a great, great holidays. Thank you for being a part of this. Troy, my man, do you have any last words for the Capper supporting the show?
Man, I can't say enough about how much you guys mean, not only to the show, but how far, my capping abilities have come just by everybody in the chat. I've seen you guys around, even though I wasn't talking in the chat for years. It's a beautiful thing, man. This entire community is just a blessing to be a part of. Let's get that freaking cash, and no better time to do it than at Christmas time. So,
no doubt about that, man. No doubt about that. I've also lost 6 straight overtimes in NHL. I mean, that's just nuts. That's
variance. Yeah, that's terrible variance. Terrible variance. Actually, I think I'm 0-3 on Titans overtime spots this year as well. Dating back to the Chargers Titans in week 2 or week 3, whatever it was.
Let's bounce back. Oh, you still, even your bad weeks, you're down less than a unit. My bad week, and it was horrific. But let's bounce back. I need to bounce back. Thank you guys so much for this, supporting the show. To our producer, Jose Bouquet, thank you for all the hard work you put in. It means a ton to all of us. From all of us here at Pub Sports Radio, Jeff Slaughter, and all of us, thank you guys for watching. Let's go out there and get that cash. Week 16 is here. Let's go out there and get paid in full. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas.